धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं
दुर्गेशपन, डायरेक्टर जनरल उत्तराखंड साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी काउंसिल, यूकॉस्ट, देहरादून। Today, the world needs disaster preparedness, disaster resilience, climate action, and science and technology-centric disaster management systems. In Uttarakhand Devbhoomi, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th of November to 1st of December. This 6th World Congress will have people from across the world, those who are practitioners, those who are researchers, those who are scientists, those who are stakeholders, those are working in different domains of disaster management. So they will all come over. This is going to be one single platform where everybody will deliberate, where everyone will come together.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने। नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य
means hello. Ecosystem means a functional unit in which biotic and abiotic components interact, and because of their interaction, certain processes take place, and then they generate to what we call ecosystem services. The term is anthropogenic, means it's a human-oriented term. Means there are certain benefits we get from the ecosystems. We value them, and now we say that the services can be in terms of say product. It can be a regulation, like your carbon sequestration is one of the biggest services nowadays. It can be water regulation, it can be soil formation, and then many products like NTFPs and so on. For example, you know that in Ladakh, Pashmina goat and the fiber which it produced from that pastoral system is one of the major ecosystem services from one of the driest areas of the world. So we depend on a lot on that. Now then came climate change issues have also come in this recently. As a part of this whole strategy, how to deal with climate change, especially for, say, those who are poor, those who have less capacity to deal with the climate change. And my point is that they are the people who depend also on day-to-day basis on ecosystem services. I wanted to introduce an angle. I thought that is which you may think of some use. It is that it is through poor people we get some of the ecosystem services. If they are no more doing it, then the flow of ecosystem services would stop. For example, as I said that if the Pashmina goat herders are not in, say, Ladakh, they're leaving very rapidly, then you may have that service gone. It's not only that we should use ecosystem services to make them more capable of adapting to climate change. The more important, I would say that the role of the poor are a very important component as far as provision of the ecosystem services is concerned. You know that water chestnut, some poor people collect and then it comes in market. And many people, some of them are leaving now, and then the amount of the chestnut may decline tomorrow. There are many such services. So poor people are important component of this whole system of flow of services. That is the point I wanted to raise here. If you want to really to achieve success and make people adapted to this, it is very important that the poor people should continue to do those jobs. But in modern economy, we need to really upgrade to such an extent that they are able to survive in the system and continue those things. So I know that with the amount of earning which a collector of what you call, say, water chestnut, his son may not continue. So the third dimension of it is that we are losing some jobs. I mean, the collectors of NTFPs in Himalaya, or say a person who collects from ponds some chestnut. If these people are not going to be there, some of these services are not going to be available to the humans. So that should be seen in that way, rather than saying that we should make them more capable to adapt to climate change. Another angle is that they have been the lowest emitter of fossil fuel carbon historically. Individuals I'm talking. I'm not talking in terms of countries. So they have slowed down the process of climate change, I would say. We never acknowledge it. There's a need to globally, conceptually, there's a need to acknowledge that because of their low fossil fuel consumption, emission, say fossil fuel based carbon emission, the climate change has been slow. Otherwise it would have been much faster. You know, India, China, with their 90% people still are below target level carbon emitters. Means the number is so big that had they been, say, more emitting, things would have been very different than it has been. So my submission is that we should also incorporate carbon justice as a component of this whole program. Means the services which have been already provided should be acknowledged in terms of compassion, in terms of development processes. So in a nutshell, then when we talk about EBA, ecosystem-based approach, then we say that the idea is that it's not ecocentrism. It is something that people should be using the ecosystems. It should lead to making them more capable of managing climate change. So my submission is that we should develop the science of natural harvest of the ecosystem services, which we don't know. I'm saying the EBA is the problem. My problem personally is that EBA is recognized globally now by every country, by nationally and internationally both. But the point is that we don't know about the functioning of the ecosystem, many of the ecosystems, and how to harvest. That science has never been developed. I'm not trying to say it is not new paradigm. Long ago, about 20 years, 25 years ago, there was a program called BCN, Biodiversity Conservation Network, in which I also participated. There were about 10, 20 countries which participated. Their true idea was that if people don't get anything from biodiversity, they won't conserve. So the idea was that we should utilize biodiversity sustainably, and we should promote people to make them more capable to utilize, and then they would like to conserve biodiversity. It didn't happen. The idea is that, say, how to have conservation as well as income generation. It's a very challenging, as even from science point of view. Leave aside social factors or all. There's so many social factors also. So one of the major lacunae of this whole program is that we don't know about the science of harvest, sustainable harvest. I know that ECMOT has already initiated a program in Himalaya based on ecosystem-based services. You assume that people know about, say, services, how to harvest natural systems. No, it is simply assumption. We can't do science also on a day-to-day basis. There should be some kind of arrangement so that maybe practical solution, maybe citizen science approach, so that we start doing work as well as learn from that, which has never happened in the past. So with these words, I thought that assume that everybody knows what ecosystem services-based approaches are. But my point was that we need to really add 2 points. One was that it is because the poor many services are flowing. They would stop. Can we make a system policy changes so that the poor can get more and continue to do those things which they have been doing? Because it's not only that they're losing, the problem is that they're losing many jobs. They're earning much less than they used to be. That's why India's GDP is, some people say that below Bangladesh. I mean, there are so many people like that. So let us be more serious about this whole approach. Let us be more thankful to acknowledge that the poor, maybe that is their compulsion, but by not emitting less, or maybe, say, for example, cutting small branches of leaves from mountains, not cutting the whole tree. We cut whole tree just to widen road, maybe 100 trees in a year or so. They never used to do that. They used to collect fodder bit by bit. Those services or those contributions should be acknowledged. And in this whole game, the justice sense should be there. The compassion sense should be also there. With these words, I request our experts to shed more light on this issue. And is it that?
So if we can have co-chairs
Yes, sorry.
So I'll be brief. Yeah, no, sorry. So thank you, the chair, for the context setting, and I think there's none better than Professor Singh Saab, this forum, to set the context of ecosystem services and ecosystem-based DRR. We have been his student, and we have learned the various facets of ecology from him.
He knows more than anybody else.
No. It's your greatness. I also congratulate the UN system, the Office of UN Resident Commissioner Coordinator in India, to take this subject to the forefront of the discussion, jointly with UNEP, UNDP, FAO, and other partners. This shows that how the UN system is recognizing ecosystem-based DRR and ecosystem-based adaptation. And there are certain questions, and we need to ask those questions. Not necessarily that we find the answers right away in this meeting or in the near future. Maybe that may lead to new research questions as well. I think those are very important things, and today's session will certainly highlight certain strengths, certain good case studies, certain knowledge that has been generated, but will also lead some questions for the future thought process. I also share some questions, and I think some of the panelists and some of the delegates here would agree that human being is the most greedy species on this earth. We have started talking about ecosystem services for DRR or whatever, after we realize that our own existence is in trouble. We can't survive if we don't talk about ecosystems, if we don't think about ecosystems. Otherwise, we would have never thought of the ecosystems. Second thing, I think that many of us would agree that we don't value anything that is available for free or for the cheaper cost. This is the normal market tendency. The people who do MBA marketing or any other courses in the management or economics, they are also taught that you have a higher cost, maybe you give a discount or whatever, but people will aspire for buying or aspire for procuring something which is costly, which is little beyond the capacity of their buying or procuring. But in many of the countries, including ours, the ecosystem services are for free. So we are bound to not value those. I think some of the delegates or some of the people may not like this statement that I am making, but this is a reality. So unless we stop talking about the ecosystem services from an emotional angle, and rather we bring professionalism, and rather if we talk of the economic value, the reason is that at any level, whether it is individual level, at a household, family level, community level, all organization level, everyone aspires for economic progress. Have anyone told about that he aspires for ecological progress? No one will say that my aspiration is ecological progress, I want to grow ecologically. Everyone want to set an economic target. So I think this is one of the fundamental issue we should think upon, that how do we bring this kind of a thought process, that it is weighed high on the policy and diplomatic tables, on the tables where the policies are made, policies are implemented. So I think this is one point I wanted to keep here. And second thing, that despite of a great plethora of knowledge that we have on ecosystem services, past 15 years or so, starting 2009, when this eco-DRR term was coined, I was there in that meeting in Germany, UN campus, where this term was coined. So just we have now chalked out the next 15 years program after the first 15 years. But then also, after having lot of knowledge, which are the critical nuts and bolts which make us fail? So basically that's very important, that you have everything, but we are not able to bring the ground change. I think these two questions I would like to pose, and if some of the panelists touch upon those, or it will lead some thought process for the future as well. So over to Chair for taking the proceedings.
So we started in a very relaxed way, thinking that no participant is going to come and there won't be any audience. So, but we have not, we feel that we have short time is the problem. Time constant is there. So we start with the three presentations. And the first one is by Dr. Reuben from ENDP. So we can come here. Yeah. So 10 minutes, so would be okay?
Yeah, I'll try to cover it in 10 minutes.
Suddenly we realize that we have not enough time.
Hello. Yeah. Basically, I think over many of the sessions that we have had here at the WCDM, we have been talking about EBA and EcoDRR. But what I'd like to focus on, and Professor Gupta also very much mentioned about valuing nature, and this is something that the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity, and I think many of you may be familiar with this initiative that's hosted by UNEP. So I'll kind of discuss it a little more, also discuss what we're doing in India and how we're valuing ecosystem services and making nature's values visible. So to start off with, just talking about this, we've listened to EBA, ECO-DRR throughout the sessions, and most of your global sort of frameworks which are relevant to ecosystems and biodiversity also acknowledge the role of EBA in providing societal solutions. And basically, one of those issues, though, is that they are not translated down into regional, national, and local actions. We have not seen enough of it. We have seen very limited sort of application in local development plans, and therefore we do not see it being scaled. But why is that happening? That is something that we need to, that the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration that was launched in 2021 tries to actually look at that very aspect. Countries around the globe, they've committed to over 1 billion hectares in terms of restoration, but there's a need now to translate that intent into action, and also as a co-benefit in terms of ecosystem, in terms of disaster risk resilience. And what I would bring about now is the work we do under TEEB. The TEEB is a global initiative that's hosted by the UN Environment Program, and it seeks to recognize, demonstrate, and capture the values of nature into the decision making. So many times we have a very siloed approach to policy making, that does not consider the entire ecosystem as a whole and the different benefits that we derive out of it. So what the initiative does is tries to value and monetize those and actually make those visible to decision makers, so that policy can be informed through the values. And here in front of you is the TEEB for Agriculture and Food Framework. This was launched in 2018. There have been several applications of this framework all over the world now. As you can see, on your left vertical column, these are all the set of interactions that are there within an agriculture and food setting. And I'd be speaking more on agriculture and food here. So that comprises your stocks, your flows through the ecosystem, the outcomes, and then eventually the impacts and its contributions to human well-being. At the bottom, on the bottom horizontal, you see the different types of stocks that are actually available to us in terms of natural capital, produced capital, human capital, and social capital. So across the value chain, you're assessing all these changes in the capital base through and it's versatile. You could use it in terms of studying policy, so in terms of what impacts policy is having on changes in all these four capitals, and how that it contributes in eventuality to human well-being. We've been looking at the agriculture and food sector in around the world under this initiative. It's been implemented in 12 countries. And India is one of those 12 countries that we are studying the organic farming and agroforestry. So the application of the TEEB Agri-Food Framework in India, it began in 2019, and we're concluding this application in 2023. And based on recommendations of the Project Steering Committee that's led by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, we're looking at organic farming and agroforestry interventions in 3 states, which is Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and Assam, and looking at various policy interventions on these 2, organic farming and agroforestry. So PKVY, the Namami Gange initiative, then also the National Agroforestry Policy, and also now looking at the Mission Organic Value Chain for the Northeast region and the National Bamboo Mission. So looking at how over time, when these are scaled, what are the benefits we then actually, we basically get from, scaling these interventions on organic farming and agroforestry. And the idea is to then inform also many of the national priorities, including doubling or enhancing farmers' income, crop diversification, and disease on carbon sequestration, and also, India's commitments on, restoration of 26 million hectares of degraded land. And more recently, it'll also contribute in informing, national implementation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. So these are our study areas. We've covered different districts in Uttar Pradesh, looking at different sort of agroecologies, but also looking at the different sort of demographic pressures. In Uttarakhand, we've taken two watersheds, the Kosi watershed and the Kailash watershed, representing two different geographies, and looking at how agroforestry and organic farming, when it's scaled up, what are the values in terms of ecosystem services. And more recently, we've also expanded to Assam, and that's looking at the whole state, and that's our focus there is on MOVCD, as well as the National Bamboo Mission. But now what I will do is try to demonstrate some of, sorry, before I get into that, there are a couple of applications. So this is how the process of application of the TEEB Agri-Food Framework works. You identify that study area. There's a scoping and scenario setting exercise. This is done through stakeholder consultations at the state and local levels, and as well as with national experts. So what we're doing is we're combining policy scenarios, looking at the business as usual case, along with maybe a pessimistic scenario for scaling, and maybe a optimistic, and seeing what are the differences in these scenarios. And we're combining these with different climate scenarios so that we're able to capture in totality what would be the change in those ecosystem services. We finalize those methodologies, and then finally get on to the scenario modeling and valuation studies across the value chain, across those four capitals that we discussed. And finally, how does that then translate to evidence for some of those changes that we require in policy to take on more of a holistic approach? So from those consultations, in these three states, these are the different sort of ecosystem services that we are actually modeling. I mean, these have been modeled, and we have arrived at different values. I'm going to pick out a couple to just go over, just to show you what evidence we have for scaling up EBA in terms of agriculture. So here is just, the Kosi watershed. I'm just showing you here the different type of, these are the business as usual scenarios from present to now in terms of organic agriculture. What I maybe want you to look at is the change in terms of the pessimistic scenario. If you see more red on it, that means more area under organic farming. So we're looking at these changes in LULC, in the land use, land cover, in terms of area under organic farming and area under agroforestry, and looking at, and then combining it with climate scenarios to then give you a couple of results. So here, the green bars, these are representative of your optimistic scenarios, where you're really scaling up, agroforestry and organic farming in that in the watershed. And as you can see here, the ones that are basically in yellow, what this shows you is under optimistic scenarios where you have really scaled agroforestry, really scaled organic farming, you have much lower soil erosion rates from that watershed as compared to the red bars, which are the pessimistic scenario. Yeah, sorry, I'll just take 2 more minutes. I'll try to really go through quickly. But similarly, in terms of sediment flow, you're also seeing lower sediment export from the watershed. These are valued, using different valuation methods to arrive at different prices as well. We've done carbon sequestration as well. This is from the Uttar Pradesh study, looking at how organic farming and area under agroforestry are being, if they are scaled up, what would be the carbon sequestration potential? Here you can see clearly under the optimistic scenario, the much larger benefits that farmers can actually then basically benefit from if agroforestry and organic farming are scaled. Similarly, from demonstration plot studies, you see benefit cost ratios that basically suggest to you that switching over to organic farming and agroforestry could make a substantial benefit in terms of incomes for farmers. And this was also from a study on ground in terms of changes in microbial population and improvement in soil health because of a switch over to organic farming practices. So all of these are being valued at the end. And let me give you one last one, is this is, as I said, we're not only looking at the natural capital, but we're also looking at human social elements as well. So in terms of social capital, assessing the sort of differences between conventional agriculture and organic agriculture, we look at a better sustainable livelihood security index. So again, making a case for a shift over to maybe more sustainable agriculture practices. So this is how we're trying to value and steer policy towards having maybe larger budgets for sustainable agriculture. So this is going into the planning processes. We've been able to, we've been working with the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, IIFSR and CAFRI on this, along with the GP Pant University of Agriculture and Technology here in Uttarakhand. So we're looking at, scaling up these assessments countrywide through the INOF, All India Network on Organic Farming. This has also been introduced now by ICAR into their syllabus. So these are, going to actually help scale up and, value ecosystem services in terms of sustainable agriculture. But the main idea is to make that evidence more firm, more solid in terms of, scaling up ecosystem-based approaches. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation. I think I am wearing two hats. I'm also having to work as an MC here. So if I can pass it back to you, sir, Chair, for taking the session forward. Yeah, thank you.
Sir, so I'm a co-chair, so I will make a summary.
Then we have Mrs. Priya Srestha. So you ready? Thank you so much.
The podium is too tall for me. So, maybe I can. Is this okay? Sorry, I didn't realize I was so short. Yeah, but maybe, okay. Yeah, I should be able to wrap up in 10 minutes, hopefully, yeah. So thank you, it's a pleasure to be here. I come here from Gangtok in Sikkim, and lovely to be here in Dehradun in such warm weather in end of November. Exactly the same thing that we are also experiencing in Gangtok. We haven't taken out our woolens just as yet. So I'll just quickly, I've rustled up some points together, and I'll try to talk a little bit about biodiversity conservation, because that's basically my line of work. But also, of course, I cannot do without presenting a little bit on the Sikkim disaster, something that we are just coming out of. And then try and see, where we, and end with a few challenges. So I hope that I make sense towards the end of the presentation. So, if you can just go back to the second one. Yeah, so I mean, I think in the plenary, we discussed about Sikkim a little bit from Mr. Ravi Singh. And, so if you look at the Sikkim Darjeeling Himalaya, it is really this slice of, that represents what the entire IHR is all about. And he mentioned how, this stream that falls within 10 miles, I think, from, near about Arctic conditions to tropical. So basically that is what characterizes Sikkim, and that is what gives rise also to, so much of biodiversity. But then if you, again, there is such a big overlap that we have in these areas, that we have actually been living with disasters. It's not something new, so I'm not an expert in disaster, so to say, but we all have, I think, living in the mountains, this lived experience of, of disasters. We've grown up with stories of, this photo is from Darjeeling, right in the middle of the town, where there was this huge landslide. And of course, we did mention earthquakes also. So it's not just landslides, but then it's a whole host of, disaster events. So just to mention that, again, this is something we've grown up listening to, the 1968 disaster, which is something, really talked about, where, there were over 20,000 landslides. And of course, there was very little documentation, so to say, in those days. But of course, this is Tista, and around, if you go to the, the next slide, it's it's just that it's been increasing. So it's the same town, I mean the same bazaar that suffered almost exactly on the same day this year in 2023. So 1968 October 4th was when we had that disaster, and again this year October 4th. This was, what happened, and of course we've been hearing since morning about how frequencies and magnitude of these disasters are going up. And but also, if you go back, just one thing I want to mention is we talked about climate change, climate impact, but also the anthropogenic. And I think the classic case that we see in the recent disaster of October is basically what happens when the two mix. So, and GLOF now has become such a household name, for Sikkim. For people who had never even heard of what GLOF is, are now so familiar with this term because of what happened. So if you go ahead, yeah. So this is basically the mix of the two, because there was this huge hydropower that was downstream of the wetland that had an outburst. And then, so the dam also got breached because of that outburst. So if you see, that's what it looked like, and this is the entire 1200 megawatt project got swept away. If you see that photograph, you can see a boulder that's lodged, so that also shows the scale of the, the deluge that must have come down. So then if you want to sort of move into a little bit into my topic of biodiversity conservation and how it helps, so I think, I mean, it's there for everyone to see, especially in the mountains. We've seen that, biodiversity conservation really helps in building community resilience. So if you could go to the next slide. Yeah, also just to sort of mention that, it is, again, a given that it's mostly the marginalized people who suffer the most, and how do we look then at adaptive capacities of, of these people. Yeah, so then again, I mean, I don't really need to harp on how, how rich our mountains are in terms of, biodiversity. It is the basis of resilience for mountain communities. And more we've seen with every instance that happens, how communities have to fall back on their traditional practices, so in the face of increasing environmental challenges, we have seen that more and more there is this fallback. We've seen that with COVID, we've seen that with every disaster. For instance, entire North Sikkim is still now, after a month and a half later, it's still cut off. The roads are still... yes, it does. So I've mentioned it, touched upon it very briefly in my challenges slide. So, so if you could... so then if you talk about, fertile soil, natural springs, everything that, the mountain community are, the entire ecosystem services is basically, that's what they're... So I'll just quickly sort of give a few examples from Sikkim. Some of it might already be sort of heard of. I mean, I think Sikkim's biggest thing is the organic mission, where the entire state decided to go. So I think that's a really good example of how, for agriculture resilience, but also for nutritional, the environment health as well as nutritious food for communities. Then the other one, of course, is the one around spring shit conservation, which is, again, a good example. And then the recent one is on land terracing. Again, this morning we talked a little bit about how land use, planning needs to be done in a better way so that it sort of benefits. So, because most of the agriculture fields are on such sloping terrain that there's a lot of runoff and of topsoil. So, there is this concerted effort to now really do land terracing in a very systematic manner that the government is trying to sort of take this forward, which sort of reclaims, the sloping land, and then farmers also have more land to sort of, so again, it increases their income generation, etc. So of course, because I'm representing UNDP and then the Secure Himalaya project, which is ongoing in 4 states, which is built around snow leopard conservation. These are some of the activities that intervention that Secure Himalaya is trying to put together is, look at high conservation value areas, look at sustainable management plans being developed, look at the biodiversity action plans, illegal trade in wildlife, and the one that really looks at building community resilience is promoting the traditional nature-based livelihoods, be it with nettle in Sikkim, seabuck thorn elsewhere, and handloom, etc. in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. So, I mean, I think I just have one more slide to talk about challenges. And again, this is, I think, something repetitive from what we were discussing in the morning about, loss and erosion of traditional practices, and how do we sort of safeguard those, and how do we, bring those again back into, So if you look at, I think, the mountain areas, while we speak about, sustainable farming, etc., there is a huge erosion of our food cultures. And because we do a lot of work on plastic waste, I could not do without putting up a image there, because there is such an onslaught of processed plastic packaged food, which is, of course, not nutritious, and we are, eating junk. But at the same time, the waste that is then generated in, even the most remote of mountain villages has become like such a challenge. So, and then in terms also of architecture, our traditional bamboo work, which was so interesting and so resilient in terms of disasters, has given way completely to, and this aspiration, towards more concretized sort of, building that has, this fascination that we have. So, so on one hand, there is, this erosion of traditional practices, while we have sort of adopted these practices which are not really, for the mountain, suitable for the mountains. But of course, in terms of farming, there is reduced farming interest and migration, which So was mentioning. There is a fair bit of migration that happens. Yes, absolutely. I mean, Sikkim, there's just so much of land that is now lying fallow. But of course, there's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of human-wildlife conflict also that sort of pushes people away. There's MG Narega then that gives them, easy, cash for them. So there are, of course, a whole lot of factors but definitely agriculture is on the decline. And again, I think in the morning we talked about the existing development trajectory, which was mentioned by many speakers, that what sort of development do the mountains need to have, and that is again, if we look at Sikkim's case, we are not really recognizing the socio-ecological fragility of the mountains. So that's my last point. So, and of course, this climate crisis, which sort of has an over-encompassing thing on everything. And I think just one point again, when we talk about the existing development trajectory, and if I am to reflect back on what happened in Sikkim, Kalimpong, is also in terms of, how much of it is misfortune, and then how much of it also then is injustice to people who had absolutely no part. So this line, where do we draw and where do we, because a lot of what has happened is also because of policies, but then, it's misfortunate what has happened, but then how do you define then, what is just for the marginalized people who had absolutely no role to play. So with these thoughts, I think I would just like to end my very quick presentation. I hope I made it within 10 minutes. Thank you.
Nayak. She's senior policy advisor.
No, I'm not a senior policy advisor.
Okay.
That was my
Policy
first
advisor?
No, I'm a gender and social inclusion specialist working with the FAO under one of their key projects, which is on. Yeah, I'm a gender and social inclusion specialist working with FAO on a Green Egg project, which is a JEF-funded project. And from this project, I would like to share with everyone. Let me know, am I audible now? Okay, I'll be more close. Now it's better? All right. So from the... Okay, from the project, I'm basically trying to showcase the landscape-based approach which we are using in our program to build the resilience of the communities. And when I talk about landscape, I'm talking about a mosaic of a piece of area where we have natural resources, where we have human-modified ecosystem, we have our farms, we have our pasture lands, forest areas, water resources, and the industrial communication, the build-up of villages. That whole concept is taken as a landscape when we talk about it. And in the components of the landscape, when we do the landscape approach for sustainability, we take up the components that what are the land uses, what are the natural resources, what are the economic generating systems in this, how is the economy, what is the social and cultural behavior, what are the institutions that impact the whole land use and the natural resources. Plus, there is another factor, which is the external factors, which are mainly the government policies and the investment and the policy schemes, which overall has an overarching impact on the land use and the landscape governance or the landscape of any place. Why the landscape is important is because it runs into, gives you a lot of services that we have been talking from the beginning of the session. Let it be regulatory services or the provisional services, which mainly are the production services, or the cultural services. The landscape has its own cultural values, and the supportive services in terms of the ecosystem services, the nutrient cycling. But what has happened is over ages and overuse of these services has resulted into unsustainable practices, leading into disservice of these the whole landscapes. The key elements that we look into any of the landscape approach is that it has to be a process which is integrated and it's multidisciplinary. The natural resource management, environment, and livelihood has to be combined together. They cannot work in silos. Human activities, they are the key integral part of any of the landscape approach or any system that we would like to work in. And it requires, as I said, the multi-stakeholder interventions. When we talk about humans, it's not only the farmers, but it's also the other stakeholders, the market players, the policy makers who have an impact on the landscape. In the approach, we take up two components. One is integration and overcoming the institutional boundaries. So we prepare the map and see what are the institutional arrangements, what are the lacunas, what are the priority actions to be taken up, and how they can be together integrated in a better way. It is mainly towards the management of the production system and the natural resources, which will give a key ecosystem services to that location or that landscape that we will be looking into. And it's not a short-term solution, it has to be a long-term solution, which will be with different stakeholders, different groups. To achieve multiple objectives, we can, in the landscape approach, it's not only for agriculture or environment, it has to be in different areas. What is the scenario right now, why it is not working? Because landscape approach is nothing new. It's been there and it's been implemented in many of the plannings. But what is the current scenario is that most of the our department ministries have their own mandates, which are sometimes conflicting. Forests want to preserve the forest, agriculture wants to increase the agriculture area, the mining ones wants to do more mining, environment wants to preserve the environment. You have animal husbandry departments who wants to increase the productivity of animals, but in doing so, they are dependent on the forest and the agricultural land. Also, these all departments, these all government functionaries, they have their own silos, they have their own mandates, they have their own programs which are working in individual capacity, but they are not combined together. So what this landscape approach does is that they bring in all together, encompassing them together for the interest of the larger community, for the interest of the larger landscapes. What we do is that we take up a whole, it's a management approach, wherein we take the landscape assessment, which provides us deals of priority issues which the communities has, what they will identify as the priority issues to resolve as a solution for their landscape. We prepare a management plan or green landscape management plan in consultation with the communities and with the policymakers and the government schemes, which is implemented. The implementation is in the form of commodity-based and community-based enterprises, so that there is a value generated out of these action plans or the sustainable solutions that the community and the government programs are working into. So basically, the landscape approach kind of give you a value chain linked sustainable management system of the natural resources. And it not to go into that detail, that landscape approach will give us all the possible benefits if done very properly and if done in a systematic manner. This landscape approach that I'm talking to you about, we are implementing this approach in our project, which is run in 5 landscapes. And these landscapes have an interface of humans. It has an interface of human-wildlife conflicts, unsustainable agriculture practices. There's overgrazing because of large number of livestock owners. There are invasive species and loss of biodiversity in these landscapes. And on top of that, there's land degradation, which we see in most of the landscapes. The project envisions that we will be promoting more sustainable agriculture practices, environment will be much better, the livelihoods will improve, the community's income will improve, and more so, the biodiversity of these landscapes will improve. So these are the 5 landscapes we are working in. So we're basically working from temperate to subtemperate, in desert, in most of these areas, in hilly areas, except the coastal areas. So this approach we have been implementing in all these different landscapes. The fundamental it's collaborative planning, management, and accountability, that who will do what and how, and then the effective implementation and monitoring of that. I'll touch upon few of the components of the framework over here. I had detailed one, but I'll skip those. But mainly one is the primary assessment of the landscape, which needs to focus on the geospatial analysis. You have the secondary literature, you take up the information from the community, do household survey information. So from the community, you take from a detailed discussion of the community, then you have the focus group discussions, and then the household level information, which all will give us the assessment of the landscape in terms of what is the land use, how are the environment going, what are the drivers of these land uses, what are the social economic aspects on it, and what are the policy programs, and how is this landscape being what it is right now, what we see. When we do the landscape assessment, the key factors in that, or the base of that landscape, which basically governs the whole program, are the identification of these stakeholders. They give us an idea of who we should focus on, who are the power owners, who are the governors of, who will run the show when any activity is being implemented with the community. So these are this kind of the identification of stakeholders, the assessment is the key basis for doing all the next level planning. Second is the geospatial analysis, which combines the remote sensing and the geoinformatic information services. We have generated the temporal data, which gives us information on the meteorological conditions, land uses, what is the cover, what are the water resources, what are the cropping pattern over the years, what is the population density, and how are the market and institutions linked together with all these components. So in the landscape approach, that's how we follow it. We do the landscape assessment, keeping the secondary literature, geospatial analysis, and the watershed approach. Do the community consultation, get the data validated with them. And through that validation process, we also identify some challenges and actions which we then prepare into the green landscape management plans as an implementing plans to be done with the community, which are basically mainly based on commodity and community-based enterprises. So they link to the market, they provide you the direct income, and also gives a way towards the sustainable use of natural resources. And when we talk about the key factors or the key areas, we are mainly focusing in biodiversity, land degradation, climate change mitigation, sustainable forest management. What are the key drivers of them, and how these can be improved through sustainable practices. When we did this landscape approach in our project, what we realized was that it's not only the approach that is important, it's also the capacity enhancement. So that component we build up in our program, that capacity enhancement at 3 levels, at the individual level, is important, at the institutional level it is important, and these all has to be done to create an environment wherein the different players or different stakeholders can participate at their own and implement the program. So for any of the change, it's the mindset that has to be changed for planning.
What about the government?
So the government is part of the consultations.
No, I'm saying, do they have any policies, rules, or regulations?
They don't have as such on landscape approach, but that's where we have to make, they don't have the system, but that's where we have to make the difference. instead of making them work in their own silos, through this approach, we have been able to bring them together, bring all the convergence of different schemes and work together. Government is not going to change. It's very difficult. But yeah, but we can prepare, we can develop the concepts and share with them. So that's what it is, that for any kind of a change, we need to first change a mindset and plan in every step, planning, implementation, and the monitoring of those activities. So thank you.
It is an interesting point that the landscape means there are many ecosystems which are interconnected. The ecosystems are never alone. So the idea is this. So next, Professor Sachin Ghai with you.
So I'll try to be impromptu because carrying a presentation. Do you want me to use this mic? Is this one?
You want to? You can use that one. It's working.
Hello, yeah. So, day greetings to all the esteemed members sitting here. First of all, my apologies for not bringing my presentation along. Okay. Probably, yeah. I would have loved to talk about one of the frameworks that we've developed on sustainable urban planning as a part of the Department of Management, as a part of my research. But today I'll try to be very precise for 5 minutes and talk about certain very general and more pressing issues which I think will be more relevant rather than technically getting into my area. So I represent the Department of Management Studies at Graphic Era and also the Incubation Center of the university, where we've been helping students work on certain innovations, creative projects, wherein we can assist on different aspects of life, including sustainability concerns and various other things which might ultimately connect with disaster management and other aspects. So to begin with, I would take on some cues from what the experts said, because I completely resonate the same feelings. We all grew up, and that's what I think the chair also mentioned, we all grew understanding the basic of economics, and we were told that there's no such thing as free lunch. And there are always trade-offs in life. So for every other thing, you have to pay something in return. And I think these concepts have, to a great extent, remained into the books. And we have struggled to see this in practice, and probably the 3 aspects that I'll touch about today. The first aspect is education. Sensitization of people at an early age to understand their responsibility towards mutual coexistence of societies is very important. And also maintaining harmony with the economy, the ecology, and the environment in which we exist. And I think that charity has to begin from home, and then it has to happen at an early level in schools. I think most of you might have, during your school days, done a lot of projects called SUPW, and you might have participated in a lot of painting competitions, a lot of other things. Even during the openings, as a precursor to this conference, we had a beautiful painting competition where, not a competition, but I'm sure that there were a lot of painters from across the country who came and participated, and they made some beautiful paintings on the canvas. That's great. I mean, as a feeling, as a gesture, it is worth, it's commendable. But what happens is that from that level, till the time you graduate out of your schools, we have not seen more constructive, more creative, and more innovative projects happening in that area. We are very glad that in India, we've had these Atal Tinkering Labs coming to schools, when the students have been nudged to think and creatively apply their knowledge and probably come up with very innovative projects. And that's how artificial intelligence and machine learning and everything is falling in place. But still, there is a difference. I mean, the foundation of education has to be strong to tell students about these very aspects of life. So how do you live in harmony with the environment? How do you understand the concepts of carrying capacity? I mean, I'll tell you a very interesting study that we did, and we found that most of these smart city projects, when we undertake, the government undertakes, and there's a lot of public polling that happens for those projects, people talk about what changes do they expect in the city that they're living in. And we've been ranking those cities in terms of their performances. But I found it was a very interestingly flawed approach, because most of these rankings were taking data from people who were presently living in those cities. And believe you me, you all know that cities will always have a demographic change happening every 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, with new people coming into the cities and new expectations coming up. But we found that the Aboriginal population of those areas, or at least the people who've been staying there for the last 50 years or 60 years, were actually not the ones that were included to a great extent into those rankings. So I'll give you a very interesting example. You take Dehradun as a city, right? And as part of development, we all understand that the need for resources will always be competing. That was a very pertinent point that Madam also made, that we all understand. I mean, this is debatable. We bring this to our management classes also. We ask them these questions that we are right at the lap of Rajaji National Park here, right? And we understand that there's a lot of monkeys getting into the campus every now and then. So human-wild conflict can be a very common thing, apparently visible here. And now it's quite debatable whether we are encroaching into their residence, or they're probably getting into ours. All these things have to be brought to the classroom at early levels, and there has to be serious changes into the curriculum that is happening in order to help students at least create a knack for these kind of problems that are going to arrive, and to make more responsible citizens in the future. So we've started doing that as part of the incubation center. I'll be glad to share with you that out of the 30 plus startups that we have raised out of the institution, we are one of the biggest nodal agencies of Uttarakhand for innovation projects and startups. 3 of our very good startups have been working almost in the similar arena. So we have Sunfox Technologies, though they worked on a very small ECG machine. It was as small as something that you can keep in a matchbox. But the idea was that these machines were created to help the elderly people living in their houses and giving them the confidence to move out, even if they're heart patients, to easily track their health and using a mobile phone, and very conveniently enjoy their lives. This actually became a part of the remote telemedicine system, and today we can provide medical health services to different agencies in the remotest areas of Uttarakhand. The second startup that we developed was more in the area of recycling the plastics and making tiles out of them. So Plates Innovation is doing fantastic in that area. If we cannot actually recycle, we are trying to reduce or at least reuse those materials, and they're doing well in this arena. The third startup that we had was D-Town Robotics, and they also are working on the drone technologies, and they were probably the pioneers in the region to work in that area. And they actually were very instrumental in helping the agricultural sector, in helping the administration of Uttarakhand during COVID, to make all these surveillances and help the management and administration to identify the pockets where were the greater densities, where there were more COVID cases coming up, and also providing reinforcement to people. So this is one example from the first point that I wanted to make, that education needs to come forward. Disaster management should not just alone be an area for the scientists and for the engineers and for people coming from a very different spectrum of the society. So we as faculties from management, economics, arts and science are equally important to be contributing in that area. And the most important, as I said, is the sensitization of students even before capacity building happens. The second important aspect of my precise talk with you would be the role of the government. Now we all understand there's nothing to be doubtful about the emphasis that the governments across the globe are making towards ensuring sustainability and disaster resilience and so many things. But then there are certain shortcomings we have seen across the globe. I mean, see, different governments have different, I would say, capacities to work. The developed part of the world probably can be resource rich in the other sense, while the developing part of the world, we said, are more prone to facing these challenges. Similarly, within a country also, we could see a lot of states have their different levels of prowess to deal with these situations. The municipal corporations of different cities are performing at a very different continuum altogether. So I think it's important that we understand, and all of us through these conferences try to force upon this point, that planning actually is more important than making plans. What we have seen probably, and that's a personal opinion, so I would probably, please don't feel offended if I talk about it, but I feel that even a lot of agencies, including the administrations, the agencies, the government, in some levels are more on the plans rather than an overall planning that is happening. We see a lot of such things. I mean, you would talk about disaster from a bigger aspect. As a faculty of management, I may not be speaking to that extent on disaster, but I'll give you some very basic examples. We had an example on our campus that once they said disposable plastic should not be used or single-use plastic should be avoided. So most of the cafeterias had those paper glasses, right? They were replaced. And I think that the kind of material that's going into those glasses with the kind of poor ink that they are using, probably not edible in many cases, and then the wax coatings and so many other things, I think that would be probably more hazardous for a per capita user than using that one-time use of plastic that was there earlier. So these are examples of how, and plastic we all know was probably one of the greatest innovations we all came across. And after almost a century, we realized that it's being, a challenge to the environment. So I think that's where a more holistic approach towards sustainability, towards ESG, and towards probably a more balanced growth has to be taken into consideration. I also talk about development. I'll give you a lot of examples. You must have seen them apparently in your area. I belong to the city called Dehradun. And if some of you have visited this city probably 20 years back before it became the capital city of Uttarakhand, it was probably on the world map as one of the most picturesque and the tourist destinations of Uttarakhand, of India. And probably, as we call it, as you see in the US also, we call it a retirement and a school city of India. I don't know how many of you would wish to take up a retirement now in Dehradun after 20 years when it is the capital of the city. So another few months you would see that the distance between Dehradun and Delhi would be cut down to probably 2.5 hours of journey. Are we sitting on another possible disaster? Because it's going to take me 2.5 hours to come down to Dehradun and again 2 hours to reach the downtown. So these are issues which the government is not being blamed, and we should not be doing it because it's a mutual responsibility that we all hold as educationists, as researchers, as members of the government and various other agencies. But then there needs to be a serious deliberation happening, and I'm glad these conferences are more open to this, because when I saw the inputs were taken from the citizens for various such projects, if you look at the statistics, probably the results have been decided on based of just 100 inputs coming from a society where more than 1 million people are staying. So this is very important. We saw this even in case of the land laws. My state, if you see, is still lacking a land policy as till date. We don't have a solid waste treatment plant to cater to the kind of population we have in Uttarakhand. So these are challenges, and these are equally as strong as a disaster in the other sense and relief work. This is something which requires a more proactive approach so that in future we don't face more disasters because of going beyond the carrying capacity of every region that we have. So policy making will be a major concern to me, and there are a lot of such issues we've been talking about. I'll give you an example. Sometimes the policies end up becoming very counterproductive. Yeah. So I'll end it here with one example probably, and I'll cut it down. So one of the examples could be that they said deforestation has to be avoided, and we all agree to that. And so the policy came very stringently towards cutting down of trees. And what I noticed was there was a faster rate at which the trees were brought down, because people thought probably procuring a piece of land and developing a property later will be a problem, so you get rid of that now. So this is how these policies become counterproductive. So my point, and the only point that I'm trying to do is, we've been doing our bit as educationists, probably working on these innovations, bringing that to the curriculum, making students aware about sustainability, and not only business sustainability like Sir talked about in management, but linking it to environmental sustainability. We bring out these issues. We tell them it's not a Hollywood movie where you're talking about saving planet Earth. Most of us have seen students drawing this diagram. Save Earth, save planet. But my question to all of us is, actually that's also a flawed approach. Can any one of us, and are we supposed to, and do we have the competence to save Earth? Earth can safeguard itself. It's just that we are all worried about our own future and existence. The more the civilization has grown, the mankind is going close to disasters. So I think the only point I wanted to make was, as an educationist, as an academician, as a researcher, as a faculty, that this needs to be brought down to the early population, those youngsters who are coming out of schools and colleges. Unless we do that, unless we sensitize them, handhold them, and build the right capacity and knowledge in that area, I think none of the governments will alone be able to bring about a quality change in the environment. So that's all I wanted to say. Yeah, if there's anything anybody would like to talk about, I'll take it up. Thank you.
I think that there should be some time at a stage for people to discuss, because there are so many people here. So before that, our panelist and chair, Dr. Anil Gupta, who is from National Institute of Disaster Management, is going to our next speaker. He has, I think, more exposure about these things than anybody else in this hall. I can clearly say.
May I say something when a question was asked? Sir?
No, but my question is at the end.
Okay.
So I want that there should be time
started this session now, we see that the hall is full. So that shows that how much interest. And we are also joined by Dr. Karki, who is also currently chairing the IUCN, and many others.
It was not relevant.
And young MBS person, Amrita from Kerala, she also joined. I saw her entering here. So anyway, so I was listening to the series of presentations, very important presentations here. When as Singh was telling in the beginning, that eco-DRR is not something new. It can't be new, because eco-DRR or ecosystem-based approach started with the onset of the ecosystem on Earth. So it's not nothing new. Only thing is the recognition, and then how we now identify and try to integrate into our developmental programs to help address our own problems, and many times the problems created by our own self, basically. So this is one thing. So one is that while we have a wide arena of thought process on ecosystem-based adaptation and ecosystem-based DRR, how do we identify the demonstrable models? Because at many places people talk that yes, we know that ecosystem-based approaches are important. In fact, I have been in discussion with the CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, that is one of the leadership initiative of India. And at present, yesterday I was chairing a session of CDRI here, and currently 35 countries are its members, and more than other 20 international organizations are its members. So it's very big organizations by now. Under that also, nature-based solutions is one important vertical. But when we discuss that what has been done in nature-based solution and promoting resilient infrastructure, people say it's very important. It's very important. But how do we really utilize nature-based potentials in protecting infrastructure? I think there are a lot of gap areas. Similarly, when we say that we want economic development and sustainable economic development, how do we really integrate nature-based solutions or ecosystem-based interventions in sustaining our economic development? We know, theoretically we know. My colleague, Professor of Economics from Graphic University was explaining very nicely. We all know that the economic sustainability is very much dependent on the ecological sustainability. And in fact, sir would recall the Millennium Ecosystem Assessment of 2005 that loudly made it clear, and in fact that relates with the Kuznets curve that we discussed, that the economic slowdown globally past 20 years, what is the reason? We have the much advanced technology, we have grown, we have nanotechnology, we are into disruptive technology. Then why economic growth rate is not increasing? Why it is stagnating? The reason is ecological slowdown, and that is the reason this decade is dedicated as UN Decade of Eco-Restoration. When we talk of restoring something, it means we realize that something is greatly lost. And the UNCCD, the 14th Conference of Parties that we hosted in New Delhi in 2019, just pre-COVID, and all the countries agreed that now we should work to think and work, we should think and start working for releasing land back to nature. See, talking is very fashionable, releasing land back to nature. Who is on this earth who is ready to release an inch of land back to nature? Everyone is interested in grabbing more and more land, whether it is a Graphic University or my own self, or government or a private body. Whether we are working on ecosystem approaches, we are leaders of ecosystem approach, but we want, if I have a two-room flat, I am aspiring for a 4-bedroom flat. I have one, I am aspiring for one more. But this is inevitable. This is inevitable. So we'll have to start looking at the alternative development models. Because if we don't do that, if we don't give land back to nature, it is going to be a catastrophe. And we are witnessing catastrophe. So basically we'll have to see that where are maybe smaller or bigger, whatever, the demonstrable models. That how do we use ecosystem-based approaches and can protect. There are good models, and now
excellent examples in India also. So good case studies, the compendium or composition should come, and all trainings and capacity building interventions should be based on that. Our efforts have been to some extent on those directions along with many partners. So we started doing something. Second thing, that development is primarily fed by two major disciplines. One are economic driven and second is technology driven. Oh, I think you are fine, sir? No, I'm fine. I think there has been little darkness that side. Oh. Oh, please take care. So, no, I think it is fine. So, the second discipline that governs the development pattern is technology. Do we ever teach anything about the ecosystem-based approaches to our engineers? In the 5 years or 4 years curriculum, there's nothing about value of ecosystem and sustaining the development. So and whereas the reality is that whatever technologies we have brought, whether it is neural network, the entire artificial intelligence is based on the neural network that we learned from biology. The entire aviation that we learned from the birds. So anything we have learned from nature, but we don't anything called natural technologies. We don't recognize nature-based solution as technology, but this is the inherent technology. This is the technology is given by nature. So first of all, we should recognize that these are the technologies and should be taught to our engineers and engineering planners also. And the second thing, we should recognize that this is the ecosystem sustainability is fundamental to economic progress. And the third point, that when we talk of the ecological, the land restoration, so the land degradation is faster as compared to land restoration. We are putting some pilot this thing. So basically, we'll have to look at that, the fast rate of the transformation and thinking and the paradigm shift, more particularly the urban areas. The urban flood, which has become a major concern, so that also gives an opportunity that the city administrators have started thinking on those lines. Now mayors are also thinking on those lines. That gives an opportunity to percolate the ecosystem-based approaches. The next aspect is basically the landscape approach. We are talking landscape-based approach, but in India or in many other countries also, if you look at the master degree curriculum or the engineering curriculum, do we really teach landscape-based or landscape ecology or landscape ecology-based planning anywhere? Very seldom, very rare this thing is being taught. So we need to think about those lines, and more particularly, how do we utilize landscape-based approaches in industrial estate planning or industrial area planning or the economic corridors that we are working. And second thing, that urban we already discussed, but even industrial and other areas also. Capacities, I think that is a great challenge. We are talking about the ecosystem-based interventions, and we have expertise, but that is located in strategic locations. The city, national capital, state capital, not down the line. But all the developmental challenges, including the disaster-related challenges, climate change-related challenges, are being faced multiply at the specific locations, maybe the districts, sub-districts, or even the village level. How do we increase the capacity of the people who are working on the planning at the village level, or the small towns or tier 3, tier 4 towns? At least some people, and basically, and for that, the capacity building packages have to be customized basically. And the simpler examples, those people can understand. Not the high technology, not the high, Karki Sahib is here. So while a base is doing a lot of great work, but those reports are of less value to the people who are working at a village level. How do we really translate that high technology knowledge into the simpler modules? Maybe a half-page module, or maybe a poster, or maybe something like that, that the villager can understand, that a village panchayat leader can understand. I think that is also important. And the last point, again coming from the professor of the Graphic Era University, I think we should also promote innovation. Innovations, more particularly in blended technology. That how do we look at the traditional knowledge? How do we look at the ecosystem-based intervention? How do we apply the artificial intelligence and other modeling based approach to integrate. We can't sustain the conflict between these things. There are some people who are arguing that only modern technology, some people are arguing traditional knowledge. No, we need to have a blended approach, and that will really work. So how do we evolve an integrated framework? So these are few thought process, and thank you, Chair, for giving me the platform. Thank you.
So we have, she was telling me it's 4:30. Someone told me it was 4:30. So we have not much time. Your question is important. The problem is that this particular session is about the ecosystem-based approaches rather than disaster in general. No, you are right. I'm saying you're right, but this particular session is so. So please, I'm not saying that your question is a very important question, but we are not here for that. Okay? Sorry. Sorry.
If we keep a 5-week program, and we will know more practical things, and we will have a leadership program at the same time. Within this 5 weeks.
So, thank you. I think your question is very important, and we'll certainly take it up. And I think this session has been very, very useful. We can take 1 or 2 questions more with the permission of the chair. Chair is so generous that. In fact, another session is also planned on the wetland-related ecosystem services. One more in LT3, there is a session on wetland-specific ecosystem-based DRR. So I would request all to join there also, and then we can have any more remaining questions, we can continue there also, because that is also ecosystem based. I have to say. Yes, but two women, the time is reserved for them. Yeah. Which university? Okay, please. Yeah. You may use and respond briefly.
All right.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
I think this is just a lot of questions.
I'll just speak loud.
Yeah.
In the section, we have been talking about like sustainability, organic, and traditional this thing. So I think we are missing a very big component, the June. Will June continue to be listed as unsustainable agriculture, or will the policymakers and this new group of people recognize June as the organic, sustainable, way of life beyond the livelihood? And will the like the studies done by organizations like CIMO be acknowledged by the government as well as by these other units to look at June? Because June, it's such a paradox to listen to everyone today, because whatever you're suggesting is all there in June. But on the other hand, you've been saying that June is so unproductive, June is like it's deforestation, June is unsustainable. So for that reason, we are losing a lot of traditional knowledge. So how, and also like if you look at erosions and June 3-tier system, which completely controls the soil erosions. And if you look at ecology, if you look at from any angle, June kind of qualifies, ticks all the points. So how do we really recognize June? I'm very
So-
I also look forward that your
Yeah.
team will also come to the fourth state, and I hope the fourth state will be a June where
Yeah.
you were involved.
So we are, in our stakeholder consultations, let me answer you first, then go backwards. So Joom, one thing that the TEEB Agri-Food Framework does is it evaluates, all the impacts and trade-offs, as well as the benefits. So one of those things is Joom cultivation is one of those, basically when you're evaluating it, there will be trade-offs, there will be the impacts of Joom, and there will be benefits of Joom as well. So I think the large concern is now the shorter period before the turnaround, shorter cycling, and the time the land remains fallow. And that basically opens it up to, having issues around soil erosion, sediment export. So I think when you assess it, there are trade-offs, there are benefits from every system that you put in place. So in totality, if we look at the total holistic sort of picture across the entire 4 capitals, there may be, evidence to back up Joom cultivation as well. But those sort of assessments need to be carried out. I think the TEEB Agri-Food Framework is a framework that can actually be applied to that. So I think more information through such assessments can actually bring evidence to the fore for Joom cultivation as well. Going to your question on organic farming, I do very much recognize that biopesticides and the availability of biopesticides is a big issue in terms of scaling up organic farming. The Uttarakhand Vision 2030 document says going organic, 100% organic by 2030. But in our assessments, we did not actually do that. We actually looked at some of the optimistic scenarios that are because of some of these constraints. Looking at marketing linkages for organic produce, the mixing that is happening between conventional and organic produce, and also, the availability of biopesticides to farmers. You are going to have more issues around organic farming with, climate change impacts. You have more diseases, more fungicides that need to be available and those, and the adoption of biopesticides is not happening at a rate that you want to have it actually be adopted at. So these are constraints, and in our studies, what we have done is consider these constraints in terms of trying to project a pessimistic scenario. Okay, why can't organic farming actually be scaled up? It's reflected. Our reports are going to be available probably within a month's time on our website, but then they will discuss in detail why the pessimistic scenario, suggests that organic farming cannot be scaled. But the idea behind it is to look at what the total value and where applicable in monetary terms, the total value is in terms of creating that evidence for a policy shift and having larger budget allocations for organic farming. So, yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I will, responding to your question in terms of the government of India and whether there are, I would bring it from the perspective of payment of ecosystem services. In terms of the tax devolution formula that is in this country in terms of tax devolved to the states, basically you have, states that have a larger area under forest cover, that they are given a larger share of the tax. I think it's about at around 10%. So that is one of your biggest sort of, I would say, the largest example within the country in terms of how payment of ecosystem services is made. That is one. You have also the CAMPA fund, in terms of when forests are diverted, forest lands are diverted, that, basically there is, for afforestation efforts, those funds are collected so that afforestation can be taken up elsewhere as well. So these are two big examples, but I think there has been more recently, more in terms of agriculture, much more sort of focus in terms of programmatic interventions on sustainable agriculture, looking at hand-holding through payment of ecosystem services. So you have the National Mission on Natural Farming that has started up. You have those different programmatic interventions that I was also kind of suggesting. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Someone else? Someone else.
I'm Amit Tandon. I'm from National Disaster Management Authority. So in a very realistic sense about, because ecosystem-based DRR, definitely it's part of the mitigation, largely disaster mitigation, as well as when we look into the disaster recovery framework, we look into mitigation aspect, recovery aspect where ecosystem-based DRR can be integrated. On the very realistic fund, right now, within the National Disaster Relief Fund, which is for the 15 Finance Commission, 11,46,000 crore has been allocated. 20% of the fund has been reserved only for disaster mitigation. Over there, state governments are invited to apply for those mitigation fund. They can put up a project proposal and they can implement. So on a very realistic sense, these things are part of the mitigation fund, are part of the guidelines, as well as there's a fund allocation. What we lack is intent from the state to come, and also there is definitely a lot of bureaucracy in which the processes are slow, but there are processes, but we need more and more people to come and ask for that. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Dr. Sagita, do you want to tell something to the audience? Let's catch up the audience.
Sorry. Should we wind up this session? So the idea is that, please listen, that it was a session on ecosystem-based approaches. Disaster was not, in fact, the mainstream part of this one. My feeling is that, in which poor people's role was important, which was somehow not covered. My submission is that it was not on the disaster, but most of the people's questions were on disaster-related thing. Second was that how poor people are going to be, made more capable of adaptation, which was missing in most of the presentations. So in a way, I feel dismayed that it was not the purpose of this. The whole idea of this ecosystem-based approach was that how you make poor person capable of facing climate change. That was the main objective. Somehow, I feel that I tried to make give a context, but somehow this was not really, was not the purpose. I'm sorry to say it. Thank you. But overall, presentations are good.
There were supposed to be certificates given and mementos.
Ministry of Agriculture is already very keen on how do we integrate this and actually make it a larger part of, the whole setup for
good evening, everyone.
policy planning.
So we'll have the next session on bamboo for climate resilience and disaster management. So I request all of you to stay back in this room. Maybe within 5 minutes we'll start the next session. Thank you.
Budget allocations, you might see, payment of ecosystem services come up, or transition to organic farming. These are small steps that you're going to see the government take, but that's always based on evidence. So that's.
Which is the nodal agency?
ICAR is our implementing partner. Yeah. No, the organizer's laptop. So I just want to.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही, कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है, तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
I am Durgesh Pant, Director General, Uttarakhand Science and Technology Council, UCOST, Dehradun. Today, the world needs disaster preparedness, disaster resilience, climate action, and science and technology-centric disaster management systems.
Who is presenting these? Okay.
वीडियो में साउंड भी है ना, साउंड भी प्ले होगा, ठीक है। हाँ आप उसको
नमस्कार, मैं हूं पुष्कर सिंह धामी, मुख्य सेवक उत्तराखंड। आइए और 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में सम्मिलित हों और आपदा प्रबंधन में भागीदार बने।
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही, कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
Disaster management is about saving lives and protecting livelihood. And to ensure that, we need to pool knowledge, the best practices, both traditional and latest, and use the green and cutting-edge technology in everything we do. In most of the cases, we cannot stop natural disasters. But what we can do is, we can arm ourselves with knowledge and technologies. Using such power of knowledge and technologies, we can create resilient infrastructure, mitigate and manage propensity of disasters, and save lives and livelihood. With this objective in mind, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th November to 1st December 2023. This Congress will unfold in the heart of Uttarakhand. In the face of adversity, it is our rallying point, a global congregation of experts and visionaries uniting to learn, collaborate, and share their battle-tested wisdom. I call upon everyone to join us as Devbhoomi Uttarakhand hosts the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management.
I am Durgeshpan, Director General, Uttarakhand Science and Technology Council, UCOST, Dehradun. Today, the world needs disaster preparedness, disaster resilience, climate action, and science and technology-centric disaster management systems. In Uttarakhand Devbhoomi, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th of November to 1st of December. This 6th World Congress will have people from across the world, those who are practitioners, those who are researchers, those who are scientists, those who are stakeholders, those who are working in different domains of disaster management. So they will all come over. This is going to be one single platform where everybody will deliberate, where everyone will come together and put forward a comprehensive viewpoint with regard to disaster management, its resilience and action plan too. Do come over. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही, कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही, कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
I am Durgeshpan, Director General, Uttarakhand Science and Technology Council, UCOST, Dehradun. Today, the world needs disaster preparedness, disaster resilience, climate action, and science and technology centric disaster management systems. In Uttarakhand Devbhoomi, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th of November to 1st of December. This 6th World Congress will have people from across the world, those who are practitioners, those who are researchers, those who are scientists, those who are stakeholders, those who are working in different domains of disaster management. So they will all come over. This is going to be one single platform where everybody will deliberate, where everyone will come together and put forward a comprehensive viewpoint with regard to disaster management, its resilience and action plan too. Do come over. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Disaster management is about saving lives and protecting livelihood. And to ensure that, we need to pool knowledge, the best practices, both traditional and latest, and use the green and cutting-edge technology in everything we do. In most of the cases, we cannot stop natural disasters. But what we can do is, we can arm ourselves with knowledge and technologies. Using such power of knowledge and technologies, we can create resilient infrastructure, mitigate and manage propensity of disasters, and save lives and livelihood. With this objective in mind, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th November to 1st December 2023. This Congress will unfold in the heart of Uttarakhand. In the face of adversity, it is our rallying point, a global congregation of experts and visionaries uniting to learn, collaborate and share their battle-tested wisdom. I call upon everyone to join us as Devbhoomi Uttarakhand hosts the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management. Disaster management is about saving lives and protecting livelihood. And to ensure that, we need to pool knowledge, the best practices, both traditional and latest, and use the green and cutting-edge technology in everything we do. In most of the cases, we cannot stop natural disasters. But what we can do is, we can arm ourselves with knowledge and technologies. Using such power of knowledge and technologies, we can create resilient infrastructure, mitigate and manage propensity of disasters, and save lives and livelihood. With this objective in mind, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th November to 1st December 2023. This Congress will unfold in the heart of Uttarakhand. In the face of adversity, it is our rallying point, a global congregation of experts and visionaries uniting to learn, collaborate and share their battle-tested wisdom. I call upon everyone to join us as Devbhoomi Uttarakhand hosts the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही, कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
Disaster management is about saving lives and protecting livelihood. And to ensure that, we need to pool knowledge, the best practices, both traditional and latest, and use the green and cutting-edge technology in everything we do. In most of the cases, we cannot stop natural disasters. But what we can do is, we can arm ourselves with knowledge and technologies. Using such power of knowledge and technologies, we can create resilient infrastructure, mitigate and manage propensity of disasters, and save lives and livelihood. With this objective in mind, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th November to 1st December 2023. This Congress will unfold in the heart of Uttarakhand. In the face of adversity, it is our rallying point, a global congregation of experts and visionaries, uniting to learn, collaborate, and share their battle-tested wisdom. I call upon everyone to join us as Devbhoomi Uttarakhand hosts the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है। नमस्कार, धन्यवाद। आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से जूझ रहा है। तो उनसे लड़ने के सही मार्ग को खोजने के लिए उत्तराखंड सरकार 6th वर्ल्ड कांग्रेस ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट का आयोजन कर रही है। आखिर आपदा से जूझना और उससे जीतना हमसे बेहतर कौन जानता है? नमस्कार, धन्यवाद।
Disaster management is about saving lives and protecting livelihood. And to ensure that, we need to pool knowledge, the best practices, both traditional and latest, and use the green and cutting edge technology in everything we do. In most of the cases, we cannot stop natural disasters, but what we can do is we can arm ourselves with knowledge and technologies. Using such power of knowledge and technologies, we can create resilient infrastructure, mitigate and manage propensity of disasters, and save lives and livelihood. With this objective in mind, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th November to 1st December 2023. This Congress will unfold in the heart of Uttarakhand. In the face of adversity, it is our rallying point, a global congregation of experts and visionaries uniting to learn, collaborate, and share their battle-tested wisdom. I call upon everyone to join us as Devbhoomi Uttarakhand hosts the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management. Disaster management is about saving lives and protecting livelihood. And to ensure that, we need to pool knowledge, the best practices, both traditional and latest, and use the green and cutting edge technology in everything we do. In most of the cases, we cannot stop natural disasters, but what we can do is we can arm ourselves with knowledge and technologies. Using such power of knowledge and technologies, we can create resilient infrastructure, mitigate and manage propensity of disasters, and save lives and livelihood. With this objective in mind, we are organizing the 6th World Congress on Disaster Management from 28th November to 1st December 2023. This Congress will unfold in the heart of Uttarakhand. In the
diverse terrains. What sets bamboo apart is its adaptability. It thrives in various soil types and can withstand various temperatures and humidity levels. It also helps in battling extreme climate conditions with the capacity to endure droughts, floods, and extreme temperatures. Yet, bamboo's significance extends beyond its biology. Culturally, bamboo is more than just a plant. It's a symbol of strength and resilience, fostering strong social and cultural connections in communities around the globe. It plays a vital role in the lives of over 2 billion people worldwide, offering timber, crafting materials, fuel wood, and even acting as a natural shield against strong winds for traditional housing. The importance of bamboo isn't confined to tradition alone. It's a significant player in the global economy. Have you ever thought about how much the bamboo industry contributes to the global economy? $60 billion and drives over $3.4 billion for international trade. These industries are poised to further promote green growth strategies both nationally and globally, creating opportunities for sustainable economic development. However, while having a tremendously positive impact on the economy, bamboo also proves to be an environmental champion as it is a key player in climate change adaptation and mitigation. It excels in building environments, preventing ecosystem degradation, and restoring degraded lands. Bamboo's unique advantage lies in its ability to yield annually for 30 to 100 years without disturbing its extensive root system. Its rapid growth and adaptability to various soils and climates make it an exceptional candidate for carbon sequestration and combating climate change. Moreover, bamboo forests and plantations help communities adapt to climate change impacts while reducing pressure on forest resources. It's a promising species for environmental stability and livelihood security. In addition to keeping the air clean, it also acts as a reservoir, collecting and storing large amounts of water in its rhizomes and stems during the rainy season, then gradually returning it to the soil, rivers, and streams during droughts. This unique property makes bamboo a powerful ally in reducing soil desertification and makes it an effective guardian of soil. Its fibrous root system, extensive network of rhizomes, and permanent canopy provide multiple layers of defense against soil erosion. The surface layer of bamboo's root system can extend up to 100 kilometers per hectare. Remarkably, bamboo rhizomes can survive for more than a century, ensuring the plant's regeneration even if the stems are cut or destroyed by fire or storms. Bamboo rhizomes are especially valuable for binding topsoil and preventing soil erosion on slopes, riverbanks, degraded land, and landslide-prone areas. Its presence leads to an increase in soil organic carbon by infusing essential nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and zinc, and the regulation of soil pH, neutralizing acidity. This translates a happier and healthier soil quality. The leaf litter and fine roots of bamboo add organic matter to the soil, enriching its fertility. With their ability to continually facilitate nutrient circulation, they excel in the restoration of areas with degraded soil due to industrial use or mining. Additionally, leaf litter helps conserve moisture by reducing evaporation and maintains a microclimate in the understory. In clumping bamboo varieties, the intricate root network breaks apart compacted soils, restoring permeability and aeration. Moreover, bamboo leaves disperse large raindrops into smaller particles, promoting the even distribution of groundwater within forested areas. This mechanism reduces the risk of overflow and erosion on slopes and hillsides. Bamboo's eco-friendliness shines through its pesticide-free cultivation, safeguarding soil, the environment, and human health while promoting biodiversity and numerous environmental benefits. Bamboo's versatility knows no bounds. It can be seamlessly integrated with various crops and trees. Experiences from countries like India demonstrate that bamboo-based agroforestry systems are commercially viable and often surpass the productivity of monoculture crops. Bamboo is not an isolated entity in nature, but a vital component of biodiverse ecosystems. Countless animals rely on bamboo for sustenance and shelter. The strength of the bamboo is unmatched and its tensile properties transcends to its use in construction and infrastructure. It boasts a tensile strength greater than that of mild steel and can withstand compression twice as well as concrete. This makes it a superb alternative for use in roads, drainage pipes, housing, and even wind turbine blades. Bamboo is the best material for a zero-waste, low-carbon future. A plant like bamboo, which benefits both the environment and the economy, represents the future. Bamboo perfectly fits the zero-waste, low-carbon future and the circular economy principles. An ideal bamboo product has a long lifespan for resource renewal, replaces non-biodegradable materials, and is 100% bio-based, reusable, and can be biodegraded or be used for energy production when it reaches the end of its life cycle. Bamboo is a versatile choice in construction, known for its strength and flexibility in building houses, schools, roads, bridges, and even boats. It's also a popular option for elegant and eco-friendly furniture. In textiles, its soft fibers create luxurious rugs and fabrics. In our kitchens, bamboo shines as an eco-friendly alternative for utensils, tableware, and various utility items. Its durability and flexibility make it perfect for crafting baskets, fishing rods, toys, games, and office essentials. Moreover, bamboo's excellent fuel characteristics position it as a candidate for modern bioenergy production, contributing to renewable energy goals and land restoration. Lastly, bamboo isn't just an industrial resource, it's also a source of healthy, nutrient-packed food. Bamboo shoots, rich in cellulose, promote appetite, aid digestion, and offer numerous health benefits, including support for low-carbohydrate diets and a wealth of essential vitamins and minerals. These qualities, coupled with its eco-friendliness, make bamboo an invaluable asset across industries and a sustainable choice for a greener future. With its myriad uses and benefits, bamboo stands as a testament to nature's ingenuity, a symbol of resilience and sustainability that continues to shape our world in positive ways.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही। कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से।
In our joint endeavor towards strengthening climate action and disaster resilience in local economies using bamboo, we'd like to begin the session with Dr. Haman Unusa. Dr. Haman is the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Environment, Nature Protection and Sustainable Development in Cameroon. He holds a PhD from the University of Leiden, Netherlands. He has worked in many environmental projects in the ministry. He is also the focal point for the Red Plus in the ministry. I request you to please make a presentation on ecosystem restoration using bamboo in Cameroon. Request all the panelists, due to the paucity of time, to restrict their presentations to about 10 minutes, and then we can have a Q&A at the end of the session.
Thank you very much. My presentation is going to be very brief because you have already presented the importance of bamboo. So I will just explain how we use bamboo in our project to restore some degraded ecosystems. So the topic I'm presenting is bamboo for climate resilience and disaster management. I skipped this. The zone of intervention of our project is downstream. Do we have a pointer? This one? You know, sometimes you have like a pointer. This one? Sorry.
This is next one, this is pointer. This one.
This one. Yeah, this. No, it's not working. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. But why?
But this is
okay. It's at the Sudan-Sahelian part of Cameroon. The north of Cameroon, you find there is a dam we call the Lagdo Dam. And downstream, we have the River Benue. So it's around the banks of the River Benue that we have our interventions with the use of bamboo to restore this landscape. Here, I will not emphasize on the rule of bamboo because they have presented everything. INBA has presented everything. So this is a project, we call it the Africa Restoration Initiative. And we have the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Forestry, IUCN and INBA as partners of the project. So the main objective of the project, first of all, is to solve the problem of flooding, overflooding of the downstream from the Lagdo Dam, which affects, there's a big town, we call it Garwa. It's a town with settlements around that area. Flooding usually destroy croplands and affect the inhabitants. So our intention was to reduce the intensity of flooding around the floodplain and then to prevent landslide, and particularly to solve the problem of erosion of the river banks. So you have erosion of the river banks and silting of the river, which encourages these floods. The government had tried to use mechanical approaches, to use concrete with stones like embankments and, build walls along the river banks to prevent the collapse of the banks, because some of the roads that were passing around that area collapsed. The bridge was affected. So the government used mechanical approach to solve the problem, but it was difficult and expensive. Now, we also tried, you see this is a problem here, downsapping of the banks, trees around the banks falling. There are some areas where you find bridges affected, roads affected. So we thought of planting. We started with the, am I going ahead? Okay. We started with the neem tree. You find the neem tree. So we did a lot of afforestation of the floodplain with the neem tree. And we also wanted to enrich water flow into the Lagdo Dam because it is getting drier because of climate change, especially the dam provides electricity. So we had electricity problems because the quantity of water was not sufficient. So we needed to reforest the drainage basin area to get more water. Still, we had the problem of silting. And these trees, the neem tree, it was good economically, environmentally, but it did not really solve the issues of the bank collapse, soil erosion, and the floods. We took the next phase. The neem tree was another program of the ministry. It was not the program with INBA and IUCN, and just the Ministry of Environment was involved with the neem tree. Later, we got this project with the use of bamboo. So we started now thinking of another solution of the use of bamboo on the floodplain and on the river banks. So we started planting of bamboos. You find us transporting the bamboo, especially with those small canoes. And this helped us to move close to the banks and to plant bamboo exactly at where we think that these are fragile areas that we needed to stabilize. Because when we plant the bamboo, the roots, it grows fast, and then the roots, they grip on the soil and then prevent this collapse. And some of the rhizomes of the bamboo can even go right into the water. This was an advantage which we could not obtain by using the neem tree. We transport all of these. So we had some nurseries, bamboo nurseries around the river banks, and then we do the planting of the trees. And the villagers in the area, the farmers in the area, they also became interested in bamboo. So it was not only the problem of the government or organizations, it also became like a problem of the local inhabitants, the farmers, and they even saw the interest of growing bamboo because they can easily get some firewood from the fast-growing bamboo in the area. So they participated in the program as well. So you find us planting. However, you know, bamboo, we need a lot of water, especially it's a dry land area. You need, after planting, you need to water and monitor in order to let it grow. But when it grows, that will be fine for the area. So in the end, we had the bamboo on the floodplain, on the slopes around the floodplain, and even on the riverbanks. So we can, you know, say that we obtain some results, okay, on the use of bamboo to restore around the riverbanks and to prevent erosion, and especially the collapse of the riverbanks that affected some infrastructure around the area. So my presentation is very brief, just to show you what we did in the Restoration Initiative program. So I don't really need to emphasize on the importance of bamboo because you have explained everything in the video. Yeah. So I think I will just end here. All of these things, they have been explained in the video, so I don't need to read all those things. I will respond to any question, if any, and that will be fine. Thank you very much for your attention. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haman. I think that's a very great example, to demonstrate the success that has been achieved. We'd like to move on to Ms. Nelly Odor. She is a wood scientist working for the Kenya Forestry Research Institute for the last 30 years. Currently, she is the program director for KEFRI's National Forest Products Research Products Program. She's also the National Product Coordinator, Kenya, for the Dutch Sino-East Africa Bamboo Development Program since December 2016. Her work experience is largely within forest products research with emphasis on promoting bamboo utilization, sustainable biomass energy, and wood treatment or protection. In the area of bamboo, she has participated in various bamboo research projects and implementation of development programs.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and good evening, everyone, and those joining us online. As you've heard, my name is Nelly, and I work with the Kenya Forest Research Institute, and I'll be just giving an example of how bamboo is being used for climate resilience and disaster management, a case of a county in one of the counties in Kenya. Bamboo was actually declared the 16th cash crop in Kenya in 2020, and it's one of the main interventions towards achieving 30% tree cover by 2032. Our current tree cover is actually slightly over 12%. So this is a mean feat, and we really appreciate the government, the Kenya government, in trying to include bamboo as one of the intervention areas. It has a target of actually raising over 200,000 seedlings to be planted over a large area of 150,000 hectares on private and also public land. As an institute, we've had a breakthrough in tissue culture propagation, and it's also a good candidate for carbon projects, as we've already seen. So if I just go directly to the area that I'll be talking about, as you've heard, I've been coordinating a project that's been sponsored by the Dutch and the Chinese governments and been implemented in 3 countries, in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda. So one of our areas that we are doing this is one of the counties in Kenya, which is Busia County, and it's one of the 47 counties of Kenya, and it's located to the far west of Kenya. It's sharing a border with Uganda. And we have one of the rivers that usually causes a lot of flooding along that county towards the end, and also River Sio flowing also into Lake Victoria. Some of the main livelihoods in this county is agriculture and livestock keeping. There's a lot of sand mining, and that's what also creates quite a bit of the landslides and also a lot of soil erosion. There's also charcoal production and also harvesting construction materials. So that's also causing quite a bit of disturbance on the environment. So however, some of these activities are causing degradation and thus need for remediation or at least some action. So bamboo in ecological remediation in Busia County is that we have seen restoration of gullies after sand harvesting, and especially in one of the northern parts of that county, a case of Odioi and Sipata in Teso South. And the picture on the far left is actually, was taken about 3-4 years ago, and that's what was happening. You know, they do a lot of sand harvesting. And since now trying to plant that bamboo to reduce the gully formation, we also had the country and the national government also trying to stop this sand harvesting because people were losing a lot of their farmland falling into the river at the bottom. And this is just one of the sites. So after 3 years, this is what has happened. So bamboo has grown and it has caught on, and this is something that is also exciting the county government in trying to push this to further other areas. The protection of Siositeko wetland, which straddles the Kenya-Uganda border. It's located the northeast of Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is one of the largest freshwater lakes globally, and it covers about 415 kilometers, that whole wetland. And it supports livelihoods of approximately about 4 million people across the two countries. So the habitat is also a good habitat for biodiversity, especially birds and plants, and there's a lot of bird watching along that area. So the challenges that we've seen in this area is that there's rapid growing population, widespread poverty, and inadequate awareness of the wetland ecosystem valued by the local communities, such that now there's a lot of sand harvesting and then overexploitation of wetland resources. Wetlands become a very fertile area where the silt from the farmlands goes and settles. So there was a lot of farming going on, and of course that affects the whole water system there. So the threats were including unsustainable land use practices and overexploitation of wetland resources, such as harvesting of the papyrus, which was holding together the soil and the ecosystem there. The wood, that was also some of the trees that were there. You can see there's a lot of no trees you can see there. And also fish and sand and grass were some of the things that they were extracting. So these unsustainable land practices were causing a lot of threats. So there's over-exploitation of these resources, and then there's an uncontrolled water abstraction and pollution and much more. So what we had to do as a project, and also with a community-based organization, is that we had to raise awareness in these communities so that they could start protecting these areas, so that they would reduce flooding further down the wetland. So you can see after that intervention, they started planting bamboo, and this is just now after about 3 years that has taken place. In stabilizing the river Nzoia dikes, this was an area again along the river Nzoia. You tend to have a lot of flooding, and especially this is the season where it's raining in Kenya quite a lot. So this river is prone to flooding, and rainy seasons, especially in Budalangi, there's a flood plain, and it usually causes a lot of people have to be evacuated and moved out to higher ground, and people lose their livelihoods and also their lives sometimes. So the government has built dikes to avert this problem. But however, sometimes the water comes so much, and maybe it has even collected debris like trees, it even breaks those dikes. When we started planting just on a pilot, just to plant bamboo on top of these dikes to stabilize the dikes, it has helped so much. Not only has it created even some places where people can even sit and have even meetings, even we raise awareness even with communities just under these bamboo plantations. So they actually are able to see what this is doing. This also is a source of calms, or the poles for the bamboo for various uses. The community are now appreciating that. And the bamboo forest creates, again, an climate that I've said that offers other benefits. Other benefits also for this bamboo is providing livelihood options, because we've said with disaster management, we've got to think of people first. So what options are we having that they can be able to get a livelihood out of this plant that we have introduced? So this particular county has over 15 registered bamboo nurseries, and currently there are over 6,000 farmers who are growing bamboo and providing a source of calms for sale, for making building material, for weaving and other products, making furniture and handicrafts, where we've been able to even get youth trained and be able to get livelihoods out of it. So the pictures at the bottom or at the top, of course, that's one of the bamboo nurseries, where I think this is one of the lady-led nurseries, where for the last 7 years, she's been able to put up even a permanent house, raise the economy and the livelihood of her home. And this is just one of the examples. The farm at the end is a farmer who's already established bamboo over several hectares of land. And over the years, this is what has happened, and we help them with sustainable management. We're also creating a bamboo yard, just the way we have timber yards, that people can come and just be able to select bamboo, the sizes already treated. So this is also a yard that's been set up in this particular county. Just before I conclude, this is also another area that is providing livelihood. Do you remember the first slide I talked about? Some of the activities that they're involved in is charcoal production. And of course, this is one of the reasons that is causing a lot of deforestation. So providing a sustainable source such as bamboo to provide domestic and even industrial fuel wood, this is something that we've been able to support as a source of alternative household energy, making charcoal briquettes. So there's actually a registered cooperative making briquettes. We help them to get a machine, and they're making the pillow sizes, and it's involving a group of over 1,000 women to be able to collect material that they can be able to do this. We've also put them, for them, even a kiln that they can be able to even charcoal the bamboo calms. As I conclude, so bamboo has unlimited potential in Kenya and throughout the African savannas. It has also demonstrated its utilization for climate resilience and disaster management in the Kenyan landscape. This is just one county that I've talked about. We've also other counties that we can also say that we've also used that. So Busia County has demonstrated that bamboo has been accepted by the community for provision of various livelihood needs. And the government of Kenya is already also supporting bamboo plantation, establishment, enterprise development, using the whole government and the whole society approach. Thank you very much. And I've just ended with a quote from my director, Dr. Jane, who would have really loved to be here. Plant the future for your grandchildren today. Thank you very much. Plant bamboo.
Thank you so much. I think it's very, hopeful to see the pictures that you've shown and the multifaceted impact that bamboo can create, not just in terms of land restoration, but also in terms of livelihood opportunities and a long-lasting impact on the economies. Thank you. Moving on to Dr. Teshom Tamarat. He is the head for Bamboo Development and Technology Desk, Ethiopian Forestry Development. He's a PhD in Forest Ecology, an MSc in Project Management, with 23 years of experience in forestry, agriculture, climate change, and environmental management. He has contributed to many peer-reviewed articles for international journals. Dr. Teshom is also the national focal point for UNCCD and INBAR.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Teshom Tamarat. I'm from Ethiopia. Actually, I'm working for Ethiopian Forestry Development, head for Bamboo Development and Technology Desk. I'm also a focal person for INBAR. So today I will try to talk on how bamboo value chain is developing in Ethiopia and contributing for the national GDP, as well as how bamboo is contributing for the restoration and mitigation of disasters in areas of where we are implementing restoration. So these are the contents that I will start by talking about the background, about the resource base, product lines that we have, the policy and strategy, the enterprises, how they are practicing for climate change, and then I will come up to the conclusion. So let me start with the notion, the idea that we have in Ethiopia. The bamboo resource utilization is really underdeveloped and at infant stage, as all African did. So bamboo sector in Ethiopia involves low value chain. We are still contributing less for the export and import market. When we see the global bamboo trade, it's valued about 90 million USD now, current estimate shows, but our contribution to bamboo, to the global market share is lower than 1%, as it is indicated. We export only 0.2% and import more 0.4%. We are using bamboo for cultural utility, furniture, fuel wood, and feed and fodder. That is really at infant stage. And there are few industries, limited number of industries at large scale, who are still producing briquettes, flooring, bamboo stick-based products. Let's see the bamboo resource. We have both the natural and the plantation type. We have the largest bamboo resource in Africa. It's obvious nearly 60% of the African bamboo resources is found in Ethiopia. In 2018, in collaboration with IMBAR, we estimated the bamboo resource, which is estimated to be 1.47 million hectares. Out of this, most of the bamboo are really held by smallholder farmers. We also have a communal forest, state forest, and association forest. Around the world, we have 1,600 species, but in Ethiopia, we have 2 native species. These are the highland and the lowland bamboo species. And for the last 30 years, we try to introduce some exotic species and make adaptability real. And 5 species have become very prominent and vigorous so that we can include it in our plantation program. The product lines, as you can see, we have a small, medium, large-scale industries. Along the value chain, we have the resource producers, processing enterprise, traders, middlemen, and consumers. So the existing bamboo product lines, as you can see in the picture, this is a large-scale industry, adult large-scale industry found near Addis Ababa. We produce bamboo crafts, basketry, furniture. We also use for construction, especially for scaffolding. We have also industrial products in some of the large-scale industries, the panel, stick-based products, bioenergy also highly produced, like charcoal. We have also using fast feed, food, and in the area of Benishangul, they are using the shoot for food. Still, when we look to the product lines, bamboo panels, we are producing flooring and ceiling tiles and boards in some of the large-scale industry. In adult industry, we are producing bamboo sticks, curtain, table mats, incense, and toothpicks. For the energy product, we have the value chain for the charcoal, briquette, and pellets. But for the new investors who are coming to invest in bamboo, we have a potential for pulp and paper. Almost 68% of the Benishangul Gumuz lowland bamboo is potential for pulp and paper. We also have the laminated bamboo lumber, oriented stand board, medium density fiber boards are being now expanding along all the nations, all the regions. So paper-based products substitute plastics in the future. In order to guide the sector, we developed a bamboo strategy. In collaboration with IMBAR, in 2018, we developed this strategy, which is leading the sector in most planned and in a good way. So it was really endorsed in 2099, now still underway. It's going to lead the sector up to 2030. So we are anticipating to generate, or the bamboo resource to extend to 6.6 million hectares, expand the large-scale industries on paper, pulp production, replacing substitution, plastic substitution. We're still planning to produce 2 million metric cube of bamboo panels and boards. We're also expecting to produce 1 to 2 million tons of energy products and byproducts. Under the existing situation, we are really managed to sustainably manage the natural forest that we have bamboo in most of the resources that we have. So almost more than 200,000 hectares have been under the participatory forest management. So we are still expecting to create 1 million green jobs through the strategy implementation. SMEs and large-scale industries, Ethiopia, 95% of the Ethiopian industry are small and medium scales who are engaged in bamboo industry actually. So, in Ethiopian context, 80% of the energy consumption rely on biomass energy still. In that case, we are going to use bamboo as energy source in different forms, in pellets, briquettes, for the use of the community. So in general, when we see around the nation, we have 23 enterprises registered as small and medium scale in bamboo industries, but we have still 3 big industries. The first one is the Yamamoto PLC is in the northern Amara region. The other industry is found around Addis Ababa, and Abraham PLC is found in Hamara region. These are the prominent figures that are considered to be large-scale industry in bamboo. So we are still trying to pull all investors who will be engaged in large-scale industry. We also use bamboo for adaptation of climate change. It has been indicated that bamboo is one of 10 priority commodities prioritized in the coming 10 years. This is found in Ministry of Agriculture. Boldly said that we are going to make bamboo the 10 priority commodities in Ethiopia. Bamboo still stored about 35.5 million metric tons of carbon, so that it's more friendly, it's conserving large amount of carbon, so that it has sequestrated, and it's important for climate mitigation. Carbon sequestration, crucial for development of green industries and livelihood promotion and enhanced value chain. So, having considered that government have given a due consideration, we have incorporated bamboo in the green legacy strategy. We have already planted about 230,000 hectares in the last 5 years, so that you can see how government has given a due consideration for this development. Ethiopia has committed to restore 22 million hectares by 2030. So the bamboo now is planted for ecosystem function as soil erosion control, maintain quality and quantity, and used for disaster management. It's also used for purification of hazardous chemicals, especially when we plant around the cities of Addis Ababa. We control it for landslide, overall improvement of watershed. On my last slide, I will try to conclude that bamboo sustainable development is now mainstream to the Green Legacy Initiative, and it has a very good political will, so that a government has given a due concern for development as well as utilization. There should be a diversified project and program designed to ensure sustainable bamboo development. We need to pull in so many projects across the nation. We need to expand the local and regional market export. We need to give loans for investment to strengthen the small, medium, and large-scale industries. In general, cooperation among key stakeholders is very important to realize the bamboo strategy action plan in the future. So this is all that I have for you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I think it's a very good group that we have of panelists. I have not had to remind even one person of the time limit. So that's very nice. Thank you so much for that. It's very encouraging to see the concerted effort from the government in terms of policy that is being executed in the country. We now like to move on to Dr. Sangeeta Agasti. She's the Regional Director, South Asia of International Bamboo and Rattan Organization, INBAR. Sangeeta is a doctorate in interdisciplinary areas of environmental science, economics, and business sustainability. She has nearly 20 years of experience of working in the sustainable development arena, including nature-based solutions, MSME cluster development, value chains, entrepreneurship, sustainable consumption, and production. She has led over 60 development initiatives in more than 20 countries in Asia, Africa, and Europe. Sangeeta has been actively involved in policy development at national and international levels and has worked on several multilateral and bilateral organizations.
Thank you. Oh, I think, yeah, I have a really short height. Yeah. So the laptop is hiding. Yeah.
think charges. Oh, charges. Oh. Okay, मैं लेके आता हूँ. आप इसको.
Yeah, I think this is okay. So I'll make a very brief presentation about like one of our case studies in India that we have implemented, INBAR. Before that, I'll just talk about like what is INBAR and what kind of work we do. So INBAR is basically a kind of intergovernment organization. We have about like 50 member countries, largely from the global south. About like 40 members are from the global south. They have the like bamboo resources there. So we are assisting these member countries to actually promote bamboo or bamboo-based sustainable development in the countries. So, and we have 5 regional offices. So one regional office is in New Delhi, which is like coordinating initiatives in the South and Southeast Asia region. These are our member countries. So we have this kind of a spread. A little bit about like the bamboo, how big is this sector and all. So we have already seen in the video actually that like how many people are involved. So such a like huge mass which is directly involved in this bamboo-based livelihood, basically about 2 billion people. So we have about like 10,000, those are the documented users of bamboo basically. And there are about 1,642 species, documented species I would say of bamboo, 30 million hectare of bamboo coverage we have in the world, and about 60 billion of international production and consumption is happening, out of which like about 3.4 million of international trade is happening. And you can see in the picture that different types of bamboos are there. Like, and we have already seen the economic and also ecological benefit of bamboo. So basically, like for the past 2 days, like we were discussing about various like, sustainable production and sustainable consumption based options to address the ecological challenges in the country, in different countries, different geographies basically. And bamboo is such a beautiful like material which actually addresses both the aspects, ecological sustainability or the balance, and also economic opportunities for different economies. And also it generates a lot of social, benefits, because there are a large section of people who are directly dependent on this kind of a resource for their livelihood. Say for example, India, we have about like 10 million people who are directly for their full-time kind of livelihood, and also indirectly or partially, they have this kind of a livelihood in many sections, many sectors, many states basically. So this is a huge like population which is directly dependent on this kind of a resource. It has a lot of ecological services. We have already seen like how it actually helps in terms of the soil, the conservation, how it actually mitigates a lot of like climate problems. So here in India, if you look at like these are globally different types of product options. Like there are industries, there are people who are manufacturing different type of products. So you can see that from very basic craft or artifact kind of product to a very advanced kind of range. We have that kind of thing, like scrimber or laminated composite based products. At the left hand corner you can see that like the floor tiles, the furniture, wall panel, all these kind of products. There are high-end products are being manufactured using bamboo. There are like this car interior is also like manufactured out of bamboo. Different type of like applications are there. We have energy options that we have seen in the previous presentation. The gaseous form, the liquid form, and also the solid form. So we have like all the energy options, fiber, fabric. So a lot of opportunities are there. So it's not only giving ecology or ecosystem related services, but it also generating a lot of economic opportunities for the people. So we have done a lot of like experimentations in different areas. So this is a recent experimentation actually with FAO's technology, because like in a country we have seen like particularly in many states of India, highly flood prone areas are there, and people are losing life every day based on like the river way accidents are happening, or flooded area, relief is not being able to reach to the people and all. So, and we don't have like very huge, robust kind of systems of like
creating or manufacturing advanced kind of like this kind of boats and all. So we have tried to actually create like bamboo composite based, basically lightweight kind of boats for addressing those kind of like challenges. And we are supporting the entrepreneurs who have those kind of technical, ideas. Basically, we are providing them the required, like the material-based ideas that how they can actually replace the, unsustainable or less sustainable material and use more of this kind of a highly renewable or a green kind of material. So now I'll come to the case that I was talking about. So we have already heard like very interesting cases from Cameroon and Kenya. This is a small experimentation in India. So here actually, many people here might be knowing about the city called Allahabad in UP. So it's actually a place where the sangam of 3 rivers like Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. So this area like is a very soil rich kind of like we have good, kind of like a base where it's known for very religious kind of like events are happening over there, and people come to that area basically for worshipping and all. So, but if you look at the history of this area, like almost in 1960s and 70s, like people, the brick kiln manufacturing, units, they got attracted actually to this area when they saw a very like kind of increasing demand in the construction industry. So there were a lot of demand for brick in that particular time. The economy has started booming, and then a lot of manufacturers, they came to this area, particularly the brick kiln manufacturing units, they came to this area, and then they started like convincing the local farmers to sell their land or to lease out the land so that they can actually mine the topsoil, the red soil actually, and then they start manufacturing the bricks and sell it or supply it to the construction companies and all. So the people, to get easy and quick money, the price that they were offering was like 20 times the price of the land at that point of time. So the poor farmers, the small scale farmers, they were actually, for them it was a very attractive proposition, because we know like how vulnerable their lives are. Like they always have some kind of either loan in their hand. So they need quick money to actually meet their day-to-day consumption needs and many other needs actually. So when they were like attracted with this kind of like, offers, so they started leasing out their lands to those mining companies, the soil mining companies and the brick kiln basically. So about like 45 big brick kiln, actually they started like mining the topsoil and then started manufacturing the bricks. So this was a very attractive proposition at that point of time, but gradually what happened, like that local ecosystem then saw a lot of challenges, climate related challenges. So when we mine the soil, you can see like this is a small structure. So from here to here actually almost like 3 meters of topsoil was already mined by those kind of like companies, the brick manufacturing companies. They were making this kind of bricks. So you can see. So after this, then gradually, then people for quick money they leased out the land. But when after a point of time, the soil was even not at all like suitable for any kind of agriculture. So, and in fact, like many people, small farmers, I mean, they also started misusing the money for alcohol and many other things basically. So they were not having any kind of livelihood in their hand. So gradually they started migrating to other places, particularly the industrial places in Punjab and in the south, like Tamil Nadu and many places actually. They started migrating to those areas and started working as daily wage worker or like working in manufacturing companies and all. So they started losing their livelihoods in that area. However, it was not like easy actually to migrate and then work in area in a very like low salary or low wages and all. And in the natural, in that area when this soil mining was happening, so it actually created, the water table also went like down, and then it created a lot of like high, heat draft basically in that area. And since it was like close to Ganga and Yamuna and all these rivers, so the wind flow was there, the cool wind flow was there, but in that area, the temperature was like up, almost like, nobody would have heard about like having this place temperature of about more than like 50 degrees. But at that point of time, it was almost like 53, 54 degrees actually. So it created a lot of heat draft at that area. So it created a lot of like local, typhoons, and that actually created a lot of damages to the general infrastructure, like electric poles and all these kind of things got damaged in those kind of local typhoon and all. Plus, people were also losing life. So all these things were like happening at that point of time. And people were also, like even if they come back to that local area, they were not having any kind of option to actually, because the soil was not at all suitable for them to then, go for agriculture and other livelihood. So what we did, we collaborated with a local NGO, civil society organization, and then started like convincing the local farmers actually to, restart or relook at local options basically. First to start with like how to conserve that land, how to make it more fertile gradually so that they can have like more, agriculture options over there. So about like 4,000 hectares of land was, affected. So we started with like a small pilot of about like 160 acre in 2 villages with these many people, 2,340. And then gradually we then, scale it up. Like we planted bamboo, not on the whole landmass, but wherever there was like a possibility, like first at the corner or the points of the agricultural field, so that it can actually start protecting the soil. It can actually, recharge the groundwater and all. And then gradually then we provided them the technology, the knowledge actually to go for large scale then plantation. So you can see like, we also supported like creation of different type of nurseries which you can actually start like supplying, the saplings. Now I'll just quickly summarize the benefits. Like in these many years, like we started with True Village, then we scaled it up like to many villages, and the local, we developed the capacities of local intermediary organizations who are now actually supporting the people to, scale it up. So you will see that in these many years actually, the 80,000 around like hectare of land, we have already like been able to actually make it like fertile. It improved the livelihood of in 96 villages. So the water table from 40 meters below in this year actually, it went up to 33 in 2003, and now it's about like 15 to 80 meters. So you can see a huge like difference, like how the groundwater level is actually growing up. Then the soil, the micronutrients, like it enhances the micronutrients so that people are now being able to, and they are not like doing only bamboo thing. Bamboo is just a supplementary kind of a thing for them, but they are now being able to actually plant a lot of other crops there through the intercropping method basically. And many people, they have come back to actually that area, and then they have started like enjoying, like having their life, the original livelihoods over there. So now the temperature has also gone down. It also has an implication on the biodiversity, particularly with that kind of a area with high temperature around, many birds and other mammals, they've actually started like migrating to many other places. Now you will see a lot of these things are like coming back to that area. So this is like kind of a summary of this case basically. And now the thing is that this is just a small example. We have a lot of wasteland in the country, particularly India, which is having, we have like, if you look at the industrial sectors, we have a lot of manufacturing sectors. About like 99 subsectors we have in the country. We have like about more than 10,000 like industrial cluster areas actually. and many manufacturing. We are global leaders in many things like the foundry or textiles and many things actually. So directly or indirectly, we are creating this kind of pressure on the climate and on the lands basically. So there are a lot of opportunities of restoring this kind of lands and giving opportunities, livelihood, and also many other social opportunities to this kind of people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Very impactful case study, I must say, because it really highlights the multi-fold impact that bamboo can have, not in terms of land restoration, in terms of biodiversity, climate, and overall impact on livelihoods and socioeconomic opportunities. I'd like to invite now Esteban Torres. He is an architect and master in local community development management. He was advisor to the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing of Ecuador for the last 2.5 years, where he coordinated the formulation process of the national urban policy. He was also a part of the team responsible for designing new housing projects. Excuse me. Esteban was also part of the team responsible for designing new housing projects with sustainability criteria. He has extensive experience in the management, formulation, implementation, and evaluation of development projects related to the exchange of best practices, interinstitutional articulation, technical support to local actors, capacity building, and sustainable development. He is a university professor and a qualified trainer in bamboo design and construction.
Good afternoon with all. It is a pleasure for me to share this session with you, and I thank the organizers for the invitation. To begin with, I would like to tell you a little about my country. I come from Ecuador, a South American country with almost 17 million inhabitants, which has its coastline facing the Pacific Ocean and is marked by the presence of the Andes mountain range. Due to various climatic conditions, Ecuador coast have not faced hurricanes or cyclones. However, we face a climate phenomenon that is generated every few years by the warming of the Pacific Ocean, called the El Niño phenomenon. This represents a great challenge in terms of mitigation and adaptation to climate change, and shows the need to decisively generate sustainable and climate-smart solutions. On the other hand, Ecuador is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the zone most prone to earthquakes. It is known that 90% of earthquakes occur in this zone, which extends for 40,000 kilometers. Therefore, my country, among others, has a high seismic vulnerability. In 2016, Ecuador faced a 7.8 earthquake off its coast, which killed around 700 people and injured more than 6,000. However, the death toll could have been much higher, but one of the towns where the epicenter of the earthquake was located is a very poor town with many bamboo houses. Bamboo in Ecuador is a local resource that people have used for thousands of years to build their homes. Ecuador has 47 species of bamboo, one of which is native, Guadu angustifolia, which has exceptional conditions for construction. What happened in 2016 earthquake vindicated the benefits of bamboo in construction, and this material show its earthquake-resistant characteristics. The characteristics of the material and its behavior in the face of earthquakes quickly promoted this even prompted the approval of a chapter of the Ecuadorian construction standard on construction with Wadua. The norm was approved in 2017, and its approval was another important boost for bamboo construction. In this context, several initiatives, both public and private, promote the use of bamboo, and within a diagnosis I carried out in 2020, it became evident that a high percentage of the housing and community infrastructure proposals developed had bamboo as a construction material. In this scenario, compliance with building regulation was also widely disseminated due to the effects of the earthquake. However, the proliferation of bamboo in construction did not necessarily comply with technical regulations. Ignorance of the use of the material in design and construction was evident in some cases. In addition, it is important to differentiate between the use of bamboo in temporary structures that not to require high durability and permanent structures that must meet all the quality standards for raw material, design, and construction. Faced with these problems, civil society organizations and independent professionals organized around the bamboo sector within the bamboo sector roundtable responded by generating proposals for community infrastructure that complied with technical standards. In addition, with the support of INVAR and the initiative of civil society, training processes in bamboo construction and design were generated with the aim of promoting the proper use of bamboo in construction. Given that its misuse was deteriorating the prestige of the material. In order to guarantee a sustainable management of the resource, INVAR has also developed training processes with producers to guarantee quality raw material and with the objective that the demand for the resource does not end up generating an unsustainable use of it. Also, technical contents were developed with a wide participation of experts regarding the maintenance of bamboo buildings, contributing in a convincing way to the strengthening of the bamboo sector in Ecuador. All these efforts have positioned bamboo in the construction sector in Ecuador, and its potential in environmental terms continues to strengthen this image. The use of bamboo for sustainable construction has a high potential in environmental and economic terms. Bamboo is an alternative to climate change and risk management in Ecuador. In this context, as part of the implementation of the public housing policy, it is planned to implement housing solutions that incorporate sustainability parameters. So the use of bamboo as a building material is an alternative to replace the use of wood, and due to its characteristics of management and use and its low carbon footprint compared to other materials, it can contribute to reduction of CO2 emissions. The Ministry of Urban Development and Housing incorporated among its proposals a housing design that uses bamboo as a construction material. The house complies with the Ecuadorian building regulation. It is a bioclimatic, safe, durable, and comfortable house of 56 square meters of construction that has all the necessary facilities and finishes. To date, 20 houses of this type have been built. The use of wadua and other sustainable materials in the construction allows, on the one hand, to generate income for the producers, and on the other hand, to generate employment for the local labor force, stimulating the local economies of the territories where these constructions are carried out. In addition, another typology was developed that has a bamboo roof. the design of which offers thermal comfort, incorporate less energy than iron, and has mobilized local economies linked to the bamboo production chain. To date, more than 1,300 houses have been built with this typology. Finally, promoting an adequate use of bamboo in construction as part of the implementation of the National Housing Plan requires the strengthening of local processes that allow for skilled labor and quality raw material. In this regard, the INBAR has been developing a capacity building program that has generated important results, which constitutes the support for the construction of social housing with bamboo promoted by Ministry of Ecuador as part of its public policy. Thanks for your kind attention.
Thank you for highlighting the wide applications of bamboo in the construction sector and the innovative designs that you showcased here. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Rajesh Kaushal. He is the principal scientist at ICAR, Indian Institute of Soil and Water Conservation, Dehradun. His areas of interest and specialization are conservation forestry, agroforestry, resource conservation, aspect of short rotation tree species, and bamboo. Dr. Kaushal has undertaken several research projects on the use of bamboo for various ecosystem services.
So very good evening to all the panelists and the participants. Probably this is the last lecture of this session, and I'll try to be very brief, and I'll be talking on bamboo for soil and water conservation. And I am from the institute which is working on soil and water conservation itself, and we are ICR Institute, Indian Council of Agriculture Research Institute. As we know that soil is one of the major factors which is responsible for the land degradation, and it is responsible for various on-site and off-site effects which is resulting in many kind of disaster. Many of the ancient civilizations, they have been vanished only due to soil erosion only. And if you see the status, about 56% of the land degradation worldwide is accounted due to the water erosion, and in India, if we talk, about 68% of the land degradation is accounted due to soil erosion. And for soil checking the soil erosion, soil conservation measures, they are very, very important. However, the soil conservation measure may not be adopted until and unless some reasonable production is also ensured. And in this context, bamboo can play a very important role. You all have seen the video which was played. Bamboo can provide us the return on sustainable basis. It can conserve the resources, and it can provide the livelihood also. And there are several claims which have been made. You have seen the video that bamboo is very good, bamboo is sustainable, bamboo is checking the resources. For example, now I have given this picture. Now you can say due to the fast growth, it can sequester carbon. Due to dense foliage, high leaf mulch production, it can check the soil erosion. Even harvesting of the bamboo is without disturbing the root system. It means it is checking the soil erosion. However, whatever the claims are being made, they are largely anecdotal. No data exists. If you talk in the Indian context, if I talk, there are about 125 species of bamboo. And generally, we are categorizing bamboo into single group, that bamboo can check soil erosion. And hardly we are concerning what are the species and what is the difference in the species, how different species can behave in checking the soil erosion. And therefore, no data as such exists. I searched the literature, since I am a scientist, so I searched the literature. I couldn't get any data for Indian species, any Indian species. The only data which I could get was from China on mozo bamboo, and mozo bamboo is again a monopodial bamboo. And in India, we are largely having the sympodial bamboo. So keeping that in view, a project was initiated with INBAR and European Union and IFAD and with the State Forest Department locally, where we tested the various species. So I told you there are more than 125 species in India. However, out of this 10 to 15 species, they are of commercial importance. And I told you that whenever we are talking of the conservation, we should also ensure some kind of sustainable production. Then only these measures will be adoptable by the farmers or any stakeholders. So we took about 10 different species at 3 different sites. We have carried out this study. So I'll be sharing the results what I have obtained. So I told you that bamboo is very effective. The bamboo canopy is very, very effective in checking the soil erosion. So this we have studied, and we have found that whenever rainfall is there, as compared to the conifers and the broadleaf trees, bamboo can intercept 27.1% of the rainfall, which means it is better than many of the tree species. And bamboo, particularly due to its vertical strata, bamboo is having vertical strata because every year new columns are being produced, and due to this vertical strata, the kinetic energy of the raindrop, it is reduced, and ultimately it is helping in checking the splash erosion. So that is how bamboo is conserving, helping in the preventing the soil erosion. And we went one more step forward, and we studied about the different bamboo species also, and you can see from this table, particularly the species Dendrocalamus hamiltoni and Bambusa nutans. They were very, very effective as compared to other species in intercepting the rainfall. The highest rainfall was intercepted under Dendrocalamus hamiltoni. We also studied the runoff and soil loss. Our institute is only working on this, and we have already put some kind of monitoring devices there, and every year we are checking what is the runoff and what is the soil loss, and you can see the rainfall causing runoff event, they have been reduced in the last 4 years. It started with 1205, and now in 2022 it was 669 mm only. And if you see the number of the events, they were also reduced significantly under different bamboo species. It started from 24, and now this year, in the year 2022, there were only 10 events. And if you see the reduction in the soil loss, there was 27 to 56% reduction in the soil loss under the different bamboo species. And again, if you can see the difference in the species, Hamiltoni, this species is having the is preventing the highest soil loss. So in India, why I am saying, because in India there are only 2 species which are being mainly taken care by the forest department, that is Dendrocalamus strictus and Bambusa bamboos. 50% of the bamboo area in India is accounted only due to these 2 species. However, these 2 species are favored. Why? Because the seeds are easily available. And for other species, since you know that bamboo is a gregarious flowering, we are getting seed after a period of 60 years, 70 or 80 years. And in some of the species, we are not even getting any kind of seed. So due to that, easily seed availability is there, so everybody is running after strictus and Bambusa bamboos. We are having other productive species also, so that should be taken care. So just I'll be talking of this also. And then we also studied the root distribution, particularly since roots, they are very, very important. Bamboo roots, they are fibrous in nature. And since the roots are fibrous, they can bind the soil particle very easily. And we categorize these roots into coarse root and the fine roots. And particularly if you see bamboo, majority of the roots, they were fine roots in nature, which means that fine roots can bind the soil particle more as compared to the coarse root. Coarse roots are generally for providing the support. So now bamboo, now we can say that bamboo, due to more fine root, can bind soil more efficiently. And also we got from our data that about 70 to 84% of the total root mass, it was distributed in only 0 to 30 centimeter soil there. So all the roots, 85% of the roots, they were concentrated only in the 1 foot of the soil. So which means bamboo can very, very easily tackle the splash erosion and sheet erosion. And also if you see the species difference is also there, and Dendrocalamus hamiltoni, Bambusa vulgaris and Bambusa bamboos, they showed the maximum fine roots and the coarse roots. And particularly, we also studied the litter fall. You can see the litter fall, it varied from 8 ton per hectare per year to 12.5 ton per hectare per year, Now, all of you know that bamboo leaves, they are having this silica due to which the decomposition is slow. And if decomposition is slow, it means it can act as a mulch and can stay on the soil for a longer period of time. So, and also the various research by the China, they claim that bamboo has the capacity to absorb the moisture 2.7 to 2.9 times of its dry weight. So, similarly, bamboo is having fibrous root system, and it also helps in improving the hydraulic conductivity in the soil. We studied this in 6-year-old plantation and 12-year-old plantation, and it was seen that in 6-year-old plantation, the hydraulic conductivity, it improved by 2 times, and in about 12-year-old plantation, particularly if you see the Dendrocalamus hamiltoni and Bambusa nutans, in both these species, the hydraulic conductivity, it increased by 2.75 times, just only due to the addition of more roots. So it means more is the hydraulic conductivity, it means more water entry will be into the ground. It means bamboo, particularly the Hamiltonite species, can contribute in groundwater recharge also. So soil physicochemical properties, particularly organic carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, they also improved significantly under different bamboo species in 12-year-old plantation. Under 6-year-old plantation, no significant effect was observed. It means bamboo will take some time, because initially 5-6 years is just only to build the rhizome system. And this is also we have studied. I told you that conservation measure cannot be adopted until they can give some sustainable production. Now you can see this is the biomass of the different bamboo species, and the highest bamboo biomass it was observed in case of Bambusa vulgaris, and it was closely followed by Balcua and Newtons. And then all this data we used for calculating the ecosystem services. We divided the ecosystem services into provisional services, regulating services, and supporting services. And all these regulating services, they were further classified on soil erosion, water conservation, climate regulation. Supporting services, we made it to nutrient cycling and nutrient retention. And all these parameters was used for developing a kind of index, and you can see from this data that particularly the species Dendrocalamus hamiltoni, it was ideal for soil erosion and water conservation, while Bambusa vulgaris, it was good for climate regulation and nutrient cycling, while for the supporting services, Bambusa balcua was found to be the best species. And what we are planting, we are only going after strictus and Bambusa bambos due to easily availability of seeds. Now, this was all done at our research site. So we thought, why not to go to the field level also? We should validate our research in the field also. So we got to the forest department, and we planted one experiment with these 2 species, Dendrocalamus strictus and Dendrocalamus hamiltoni. And we used different kind of soil water conservation measures. We used the different rectangular trenches, semicircular trenches, V-shaped trenches, and we also put a plot without trenches which was made mainly for the comparison of that. And particularly, we've seen that, now you can see the soil moisture, it improved significantly under Dendrocalamus hamiltoni as compared to the fallow plot. About 45%, up to 45% improvement in soil moisture was observed under Dendrocalamus hamiltoni. Lantana, which is one of considered as the most invasive species in India. And you can see from the graph from 2014 to 2018, 97% of the Lantana growth was checked under the Dendrocalamus hamiltoni. Though under strictus, even a little more growth of lantana was there, but ideally, if you see under hamiltoni, this growth was checked. And you can see this is the soil loss, particularly if you see at the initiation of the experiment, the soil loss was about 21 to 22 ton per hectare per year. And after 4 years, the average is only 3 to 4 ton or 5 ton per hectare per year. And during the 5th year, it was seen that there was no soil loss was observed under this. And this is the picture. Now you can see 3-year-old bamboo, Dendrocalamus hamiltoni, and you can see no growth of lantana under bamboo, 0 growth of lantana under bamboo. So bamboo is particularly this hamiltoni species. Now this is another, we have developed the silvipasture system for bamboo. This is mainly for the gullied land. So gully is one of the major problem. And in this, what we are doing in the gully beds, we are planting bamboo in staggered manner, and on the side slopes, we are planting the grass. And from the side slopes, we are getting the yield of 7 ton per hectare per year from grass. And after 7 years of plantation, we are getting 1,000 bamboo poles per hectare per year. and which is giving us a benefit cost ratio of 2.09. And this system is very, very effective in absorbing more than 80% of the rainfall. And when we started this experiment, the soil loss was 20 ton per hectare per year, and now it is only less than 1 ton per hectare per year. One more technology we have developed, because we are saying that prevention is better than cure. So particularly we say whenever we are going in any kind of watershed program, or wherever the problem of soil erosion exists, the soil erosion problem, it starts from the first order gully itself. And if we can check the first order gully, we can check the problem of any kind of soil erosion. So these are the live check dam which we have, we are promoting for the first order gullies. And in this, what we are doing, we are planting bamboo at a very close spacing of 2 by 2 meter. 2 rows of bamboos are planted, and after that we are keeping a gap of 10 meter, 10 to 15 meter, and then again parallel rows of bamboo they are made. And particularly we are focusing on the easy to root species like Bambusa vulgaris, Dendrocalamus hamiltoni. So that just we are inserting a pole and it is going to root itself. And again, it has been seen it can absorb more than 80% of the rainfall, and the runoff, soil loss and nutrient losses, they were reduced by 50 to 67%. And if you see the benefit cost ratio of this live check dams also, it is about 2. And one more last, this one. This is again, we have used these check dams. This is a low cost technology what we have developed for checking the soil erosion. Particularly in this, we are using the waste cement bags. We are just putting any kind of soil there, and then we are making a 3 row of these bags. And in between these check dams, we are planting the bamboo in a staggered manner. And again, you can see from this graph, W4 is control, and W3 you can see the minimum soil loss it was observed in case of W3 watershed. So this is, and we are also going for the different demonstration and extension activities in the different villages of the Uttarakhand. And not only in the country level, but we are also providing the training at international level. We have already trained more than 125 trainees in Ethiopia, Tanzania, Madagascar, Kenya, and Ecuador, particularly on the resource conservation aspect of the bamboo. And last slide, probably. So these are some of the issues, particularly the number one is lack of awareness. I told you only 2 species. The rest species nobody is knowing, but the other species, they are of great importance. Limited choice of species, this has been covered. Lack of package and practices. So far, whatever the bamboo and package and practices are being developed, they are only for production only. For conservation, we need to fit some kind of package and practices, what should be the pattern, how much number of the plants to be planted, that all need to be standardized. We should go for the identification of hotspots for the planting the bamboo on degraded land. Since bamboo, it is very fast growing, it covers canopy in a short period of time, so it is not ideally suitable for any agriculture land. So we need to identify some kind of degraded lands only, and then we should promote bamboo there only. And now we are having the technologies with us. As a research institute, we are having some limitations with us. So the forest department and other organizations, they should come with us and they should take this technology to the degraded lands. And then we should also should create a policy or create some kind of mechanism for providing the additional income in terms of ecosystem services. We know that bamboo can provide numerous ecosystem services, but only we are talking. Lot of talk is being on the ecosystem services. But when it comes to giving incentive to the farmer, then we are always quiet. So if these incentives can be given to farmers or to the stakeholder, yes, bamboo can be planted anywhere. And capacity building, this is very, very important. We need to train the manpower how to grow bamboo for soil and water conservation. That was all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that very informative session and all the great work that the Institute is carrying out. I would like to thank everybody on behalf of INBAR and GIZ. Thank everybody for their participation. A very thank you to the esteemed panelists that we have. We'd like to present a small token of appreciation to them. Sangeeta, would you like to? Do we have any questions or any comments from anybody? Yes, please.
Actually, bamboo can grow throughout the country except the desert region. Particularly our Bikaner and Jaisalmer part, it cannot be grown in that part of the country, and in Kashmir also. There is no bamboo in Kashmir, except that everywhere bamboo can be grown. And particularly it avoids salinity, alkalinity, and then waterlogging also.
Okay, as because the world's 30% of area is contributing is by desert. So if there is any chance we can convert that desert into an habitable area by any plants like
There are a number of plants. A lot of acacia species is there that are very suitable to the dry condition. Prosopis is there that is suitable for dry condition. Dalbergia, there are a number of species for desert region. क्योंकि सभी species एक जगह नहीं जा सकती. Bamboo is having little bit higher water requirement. That's why we are saying whenever you have to grow, go with some kind of soil moisture conservation measure. Because the requirement of water is little bit higher in case of bamboo. So much evergreen canopy is there. So water is required little bit. So in desert it cannot be grown. But yes, if the rainfall is more than 800 mm, it can be grown. Yes, please. Yeah. No, definitely, madam, it will depend upon the soil condition, kind of the degradation. What is the kind of degradation there? So ultimately, we are having the now, that's why I am saying different package and practices need to be designed for different kind of degraded land. There are a number of degraded lands. So the results can vary. Surely the results can vary. Yes. Invasive species, yes, yes, yes. It is very simple actually. What the forest department they are doing, they are planting Dendrocalamus strictus. The leaf of the Dendrocalamus strictus, they are very narrow. Light can easily penetrate. And lantana, what they require, it is light demander species. Wherever the seed dispersal will be there, it will start germinating. Definitely, we have done it in the same way. It is simple method. You just cut the lantana, put the rhizome of bamboo. If it can be planted with the rhizome, because the establishment will be earlier. And particularly, I am saying that species having broadleaf. Broadleaf means Hamiltoni is one of the species which can be grown there. You put Dendrocalamus Hamiltoni rhizomes there, maybe in 2 or 3 years you are going to get this success. The example is in front of you. We have done on the forest department land itself. It is in Mednipur. In Timli forest range, it is near to Ponta Sahib only. That you can go, any time you can go. But lantana has been eradicated there. The only thing is, because lantana needs light. If you cut the light, it is going to. Okay. Yeah, lantana is very big problem. Yes. Maybe we can take some collaborative project also in near future where we can work on this issue. I think that is wonderful. Yeah, ma'am, please. Actually, madam, bamboo is so sustainable. You plant it and keep on harvesting every year. Yeah, it can be converted. That is not the problem. But again, if cash crop is that it can give more return than bamboo, then it is okay. But from agriculture point of view, I cannot see any crop which can compete with bamboo in giving the returns. Yeah, it can be done, but the rhizome they have to be removed with the help of some JCB. Earlier it was difficult, but now with the JCB it is very easy. They are charging only 800 per hour. They will uproot everything. Actually, only the seeds are easily available, and the forest department, they are having targets, madam. We are not having targets. They are having targets. They have to produce 1 lakh nursery, 2 lakh nursery. And by cutting, they cannot go for 2 lakh nursery. So that is the only thing. That's why they are easy thing is only propagate by seed only. But we are having commercial species with us, they should go with that. And we are doing now, last year also, this year I think we have taken about 250 hectare area with the farmers. Now, little bit it is coming now, it will take time, but definitely it is going to come. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Sir, biomass, 50% of biomass is carbon itself. So it is very simple thing. The more the biomass, it means more the carbon it is going to sequester. But the main thing is if you are going to sequester carbon, then you need not to harvest it. If you are harvesting, it means you are just taking the carbon and it is being locked in some kind of products. Yeah, we have already done, sir. We have already done, and all this, they have been published in some journals. I can give you the list. Sir, this is work only done here in Dehradun and nearby areas, and Gujarat also we have done some work. Yeah, these are all published, madam. I am available on ResearchGate also, and Google Scholar also. You can follow me. Yeah, and in slides also I have given the references. All has been published in. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes, please.
Yes, bamboo is part of culture, and these typologies consider these cultural parameters. In the minister, we have a methodology of participate design, and it is incorporated to design of building, of housing.
Do we have any other questions?
Actually,
we are doing research nationally that will introduce species because bamboo is has a diverse benefit. Almost 10,000 benefits have been. Yeah. So each of them have different uses, especially some of them are for science, for food, some of them are for furniture, some are for charcoal. So we need to diversify the benefit using the bamboo for different products. So in that case, we are going to introduce research with this adaptability, then we can easily propagate it. Then we can aggressively introduce utilization. Yes. So exotic species are very good quality.
One more I just like to add that it all depends on the farmer. Farmer understand on the one hand that is money. So they will be getting money that kind of training with farmer. Even if request is value is paid, but still farmer they are having the choice for the request. So that's why some production are being made. Like farmers themselves they are now making some kind of so they need more money. No, if it is on a positive side, definitely. अगर eucalyptus नहीं होता है, eucalyptus should not have been in India. There should have been no more even for.
Basically, we need to introduce this basic objective of valuing any species from the economic perspective, from social and environmental.
Even pine species, most of the pine species introduced in the India, now we have become we are not technically trying to do.
But
they were very beneficial at that time.
today you place the pine, you plant any other species there. They are not going to survive. Pine survive. On any kind of soil, without water, it can come. The only thing is we are not managing them properly. In our silvicultural plan, we are having a proper felling cycle process. Proper management practices are there, thinning practices are there. Nobody is following that. Because green felling is bad, under the name of green felling, we are not scientific felling is not. That is the only. Otherwise, with species there is no problem. Only the problem is we are not scientifically managing.
Sorry, I'd like to interject that very interesting discussion. Maybe we can take it offline. Thank you so much for that very participative discussion. If we can, Sangeeta, if you'd like to present the certificates. Dr. Hamad?
Yes. They are very good students.
Take it.
So I'm doing this on behalf of the government of Uttarakhand actually. From this side to the background.
Nelly? Dr. Tesson? Esteban? Dr. Rajesh? have a group picture here with the panelists, please? Thank you, sir.
आदिकाल से उत्तराखंड की धरती विश्व को सही मार्ग दिखाती आ रही, कभी ऋषि मुनियों के ज्ञान से, कभी योग के प्रकाश से और कभी धर्म के विचार से। आज पूरा विश्व जलवायु परिवर्तन और ग्लोबल वार्मिंग से होने वाली आपदाओं से